Hello guys, welcome to my channel Lucid Fanfic, and if you're new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss out on our latest videos. So be sure to stick around until the end. And let's get started. Izuku POV. I woke up in total darkness. I was wearing my hero costume with my respirator on, so I had clean air. It looked like I somehow ended up under a ton of rubble. I would just lift it off, but I was kind of pinned and my quirk was feeling weird. Okay, the last thing I remember is I whispered to myself, is fighting and defeating Tamura Shigaraki. Maybe that building collapsed on me. Suddenly, there was a stream of light in the darkness. Hey, you okay in there? I saw you fall from way up high. An older voice said I didn't recognize it. I'll have you out in a jiffy, so remain calm. He called and continued to move the rubble. Don't worry, I have a respirator. You can take your time if you need to. I called up to him. Oh no, another Yoju is here. Hey, bud, I think I got you exposed enough. You okay to climb out? The man asked me, you being attacked up there? I asked him. Yeah, I am staring at a Yoju that's about 200 meters away, he said. Oh no, it noticed me, it's charging. In that moment, I felt my quirk surge just enough for me to free myself. I burst out of the rubble, scaring the man behind me as the rubble collapsed and he fell a bit. I saw before me an ugly fungus-looking thing charging us. I cocked my arm back and charged my quirk up, preparing to unleash an attack to defend us. The beast reached us. Detroit Smash. I yelled, unleashing the attack and obliterating the beast. I turned around and looked at the man behind me. You okay? I said, walking up and helping him to his feet. You a division officer then, though why are you in this getup? He asked me. Division officer? I asked, then I noticed I wasn't where I fought Shigaraki. I was in a different city. There were piles of destroyed beasts everywhere. I need something to eat, and I would prefer to explain myself and ask questions in private. But first, who are you? I am Kafka Hibino, and I guess we can go to my place. I can whip you up something. The man said, offer me his hand. I shook it, and only now noticed his features. He had dark, spiky hair and green eyes. He was giving me an amazing smile. Time skip. We went to his apartment, and he set me up with a very nice meal, hamburgers, and we sat down and began to talk about a lot of things. Okay, so who are you? He asked me first after swallowing his first bite. Right, I promise you an explanation, I said after swallowing my bite. My name is Izuku Midoriya, and I am a pro hero. After waking up here and seeing that thing, whatever you called it, I deduced I might not be in my Japan anymore, especially with all the dead things in that area. You're a pro hero? So what was it you used on that Yoju? Kafka asked me, chewing on a small bite. I used one of my quirks, although I can't really feel them now. I'm a little concerned about that. I said that last part more to myself. What's a quirk? He asked me. It looked like you used one of those division suits that increase your strength. In my universe, around 80% of the world's population has a fantastic ability we call a quirk, I said, having finished my burger. These powers can range from super strength, speed, anything really. We all get them around the age of 4, though in my case, I was a very late bloomer. Now I'd like to know more about this world. Start with those things, please. Oh, sure can do, he said, having finished his meal himself. See, in this world, we have had to deal with monster of a giant classification since around the Mairiki era. The Division 1 mentioned earlier is referring to the Japanese Anti-Kaiju Defense Force. They use suits nowadays along with specially made weaponry to fight the kaiju and kill them. The suits use kaiju parts to release more power and leveling the playing field for us humans. Okay, explain more about these kaiju, please. I asked him. Gladly, kaiju can be broken down into 3 classifications. The first 2, and the simplest, are called Hanju and Yoju, he said. Hanju are usually the biggest and most powerful kaiju. They also generate or gather Yoju. They usually measure in at a fortitude of 6.0 and above. Yoju are weaker and smaller than Hanju, usually accompanying and assisting them in various things. In rare cases, Yoju can also be of Hanju class, but they will still be weaker than the Hanju using them. You mentioned 3 classifications. What is the 3rd class? I asked him. A grave expression rose to Kafka's face. The last classification is the most dangerous, Daikaiju class. He said grimly. Daikaiju will always be in and beyond the level of the Hanju. In some cases, they bring with them Yoju, who can also reach the Hanju class. A Hanju is classified as a Daikaiju if their power surpasses a fortitude of 8.0. Daikaiju often prefer to work alone, but as stated earlier, can have Yoju under their command. I think I understand now, I said, looking up from a notebook I was writing in. So with all the information you know of, you must be one of these division officers, right? I asked. No, that was my dream a long time ago. I know all of that because of that dream and because of my job as a member of one of the cleanup crews. He explained to me. Well, with my instincts, it would probably be the best thing for me to try and do, I said, walking off and sitting on his couch. But first I need rest and to set up information of my existence in this universe. Oh yeah, well, here, let me call my boss and get tomorrow off, and we'll go and get that taken care of together. Kafka offered, taking up his phone, calling his boss. Thanks for everything, Kafka, you're a big help, I said, then passed out on the couch. No problem, kid, was the last thing I heard from him. That was nearly a year ago now. Haven't found a way home, and Kafka talked me into working with him before applying to the Defense Force. I use my respirator at work cause it works so much better than any of the ones they offer. Been thinking of trying to mass produce it for funds. It looks like they almost have that Hanju taken down, almost time to go to work. Oh yeah, and I still haven't been able to access my quirk to its fullest. All I seem able to manage is around 2x my physical strength. It comes in handy every now and again. Besides 2x my physical strength is still pretty strong. I can take down some Yoja with it. My other quirks are still present, though suppressed like most of my strength. Izuku's POV. 5 a.m. Beep, beep, beep. I smacked the alarm clock, turning it off and getting up. I got dressed in my jogging gear and grabbed a banana from my bowl, heading out of my apartment, which was right next to Kafka's. I knocked on the door to let him know I was ready to go and do our daily training. I then opened and began to eat my banana. Right, I'm up, he said, opening the door. So what training you doing today? 300 push-ups, sit-ups, and burpees alternating every 50. Oh, and a 10K run carrying you on my shoulders. I said, finishing my banana. Is this the sort of thing you did in your old universe? He asked. I nodded. Okay, let me get my sweatsuit on as well. Might as well join you. Oh, you finally decide to try for the Defense Force. Again? I asked, following him into his apartment. Fat chance. I've just seen how useful your strength can be, he said from his bathroom. Besides, I've been doing these exercises with you for the past year. Anyway, hell, you even got me to quite smoking. Yeah, you are defiantly looking more fit than when we first met, I commented from his couch. And that means what precisely? He asked, now dressed and standing in front of me with his arms on his hips. Nothing apart from the fact that your six-pack is visible again. I said, standing up. You got a point there, he said, grabbing his own banana. You ready now, Kafka? I asked. Yeah, let's do this, he said, finishing the banana in record time. Time skipped to after training, 7 a.m. Okay, time to take a shower and get dressed for work. See you in 30 minutes. I said, heading into my apartment and to the showers to wash off the sweat and the smell. We repeat, a kaiju has appeared in Kanagawa Prefecture, in the city of Yokohama. A news report said over the radio of the truck we were seated in. We advise all residents in the vicinity to seek safety immediately. Fortitude is level 6. There is no threat of an emergence-induced tsunami occurring. Again, we advise all residents in the vicinity to seek safety MOH. This just in, it appears that the kaiju has been neutralized. Yeesh, they made one hell of a mess. Kafka said, you seeing this, Izuku? Yeah, gonna be a fun one, I said, taking a bite of my onigiri. Gonna be overtime, for sure. Alright, let's get to it. Our boss said. Yes, sir, we all said. Time skipped to us well into the job. Nobi Kafka, I said. The bone's too tough. We'll need the heat chainsaw. Hey, don't move that just yet, I hear Kafka say as someone began moving an organ away. If you overstimulate it, it'll... And it ruptured, sending some acid all over the guys moving it. We need a stretcher over here, I called out to the boss. These 3rd Division scenes are always such a dangerous mess. Kafka said. Yeah, it can be hard to tell the organs apart, I said. I looked up to the dead kaiju. They expect us to get this done by the end of the week. Kafka, Izuka post-change got some spots that need filling, the boss said, walking up to us. Kafka looked at me briefly, then he looked at the boss. Where's sir? The boss pushed his glasses up, intestines. He said firmly, not there. No, Kafka called. The boss grabbed and began to drag Kafka. I've already cleared it with the higher-ups, let's go. He said I followed behind, securing me respirator. My condolences, Kafka, one of her co-workers said. Why does Izuku never seem bothered? Another asked him, oh, you don't know about that respirator he is wearing? He asked when the other nodded. He continued. Apparently, he made it himself, filters out everything including the smell. He's working on manufacturing more for us, but it's apparently challenging. Once there we began to power wash them to clean the material, since we needed to get the muscles that surround the intestines. Finally, it was quitting time for the day after we cleaned about half of the intestines. Ugh, I can still smell it. How haven't you figured out how to make more of those yet? Kafka asked me as we settled into his apartment to relax. I went into his kitchen and began to cook us up some ramen. It's not that I can't reproduce it. I have to get the devices I need to reproduce them is all. I said, coming and sitting next to him on the couch as he turned on the news. Right now, all I can make more of is the filter for my own next pay. Check, I should have enough to do it, I think. Though technically, I never manufactured them, just designed it. So it might take me a few tries to get it down. We need to get them made. You would make bank with the fellas, and we all wouldn't mind doing our job, no matter what you know, he said, then began to slurp up his ramen. Today's feature is on the 3rd Division, the announcer announced. The Defense Forces 3rd Division successfully neutralized today's Kaiju threat, and the person responsible for bringing these troops together is none other than Mina Ashiro. At the young age of 27, she has already neutralized hundreds of Kaiju. With skills rivaled only by her looks, there's no doubt why she's one of the most popular captains currently in service and is regarded as a shoo-in for future Corps commander. Hey, she's your childhood friend, right? I said, pointing at her image. You know, I knew someone in my universe with a very similar name, come to think about it. Why did I end up on this side of things? He said, a dull look on his face. Oh, whatever this job is important to, you should head home for tonight, Izuku. I'm pretty tired. Yeah, I suppose I should get to bed too. See you tomorrow, Kafka, I said, leaving his apartment and walking to mine to head to sleep. The next day, 8 a.m. Monster Sweepers HQ. We did our normal training and got to HQ to get suited up before heading to the cleanup site. There you guys are. Kafka, Izuku, we got a new part-timer. One of our co-workers, Toku, said. Says he's trying to join the defense force, like you, Izuku. This guy here, Kafka, tried to join once upon a time. Granted, he ended up calling it quits and became a permanent fixture here. Come on, Toku, you're making it awkward for the kid, to Kafka was saying, but the new kid, Reno, interrupted him. How come? He asked. You gave up, can I ask why? Kafka looked down slightly. Well, I gave my all back then, but I guess you could say the competition's pretty stiff. He said and looked at me, everyone's got a limit, you know, and I kind of crashed right into mine. You two will get what I mean when you get old, he gestured to both of us. I'll never understand, sir. Reno said, I'm not the type to give up, so for as long as I live, I will never understand, sir. Not that I would want to understand either. I'm gonna get suited up. With that, he left to the changing rooms. You okay, Kafka? I asked him, placing my hand on his shoulder. Yeah, I'll be fine, just need a minute. He said, you told me a lot about your past with Mina, so I'd like to know why you did give up? I asked him. Izuku, I gave up because I hit the limit on the age you can enlist. You have to enlist by 25. He said, a tear coming to his eye. Until then, I never gave up. I went to all the exams I could, but I always failed in the second exam. But it's okay, cause I know you can make it. With that, we both walked in to get suited up to head out to the same cleanup operation as yesterday. Izuku POV. All right, let's get to it. The boss said, now that we all were ready. Toku and his guys will team up with the folks from Ida Cleaners to strip the arms. Per the contract, the least damaged muscle fibers are to be turned over to Taketsui Development. Mitsuike's team will continue skeletal cleanup, with any intact bones going to Izumo Tech. Yoshimura's team will tear down the legs, which will then be scrapped. Gotcha, Toka replied. Righto, Mitsuike said. Roger. Yoshimura called out. Newbie, you're on intestines. The boss told Reno. Follow me. I looked at Kafka and could tell he was thinking, yes, serves you right, punk, based on his expression alone. Kafka, Izuku, you're on intestines too. Come along, he said. Me too. Kafka said, upset 2 days straight, sir. He said in the boss's face, crying. I, on the other hand, secured my respirator. What can I say, you two are just good at intestine work. The boss said, F it all. Fine, let me at it. Kafka gave a war screech and ran in. He always rises to the occasion in the end. The boss said, watching him. If only he had found his footing, he would have probably made a fine division officer. Now you two get in there. Right away, sir. I said, rushing in after Kafka. Reno followed in behind me. Time skipped to lunch break. The three of us sat away from everyone else. Hey, you're defiantly feeling it, Reno, Kafka said. Like you're one to talk, Kafka. I'm the only one with a supped-up respirator, remember? I asked and began eating my lunch. You're right, he said. He took notice of Reno's lunch. Hey, that lunchbox, all the food you brought, right? You're not going to eat? I've kind of lost my appetite, sir. Reno told him. Yeah, I bet, I said. Don't worry, I'll hook you up when I make another one of these. I pulled on my respirator. Kafka tossed him one of his supercharged vitamin packs. You can have it, he said. If you don't put something in your stomach, you'll never last the afternoon. I'm fine without, Reno began. You'll also want these. Kafka said, holding up some nose plugs. Popping these and make the job a lot more tolerable. Reno said. No, I really don't need. Quit playing coy and plug your nose already. Come on, Kafka said, tackling Reno to put the plugs in his nose. Stop. Sir, I'm serious. Reno objected. This is blatant abuse of authority. I just sat there laughing my pants off. Yep, that's how we all were at first. Mitswike said. Time skipped to the end of the day. And that's a wrap for today. The boss said. Good job, everyone. We're heading out. See you later, Kafka. I said, heading out with everyone else. Kafka POV. Yup, good job, fellas. Catch you later. I said, then looked up at the mess before me. Welp, at least the foulest part is behind us. Hey, sir. Reno said. Hey, Ichikawa. Nice job today. I said, a little nervous you here to get me back for lunch. Thanks to your help, I made it through my first day on the job. He said, I appreciate it very much. No prob. I said, well, that's it, sir. See you around. He said, and turned around to walk away. Oh, actually, one more thing. They're raising the maximum age for new recruits to 33. For the Defense Force, that is. Has something to do with the declining birth rate. I know it's your life, and it's not really any of my business, but you looked pretty torn up when you were talking about how you gave up. I mean, I seriously couldn't care less, so if I got the wrong idea back there, feel free to continue your quitter lifestyle. See ya, Ichikawa. Thanks. I said you're a better guy than I gave you credit for. Listen, that's not that he was interrupted by the ground behind him bursting open and a Yoju coming out of it, trying to eat him. I rushed in and tackled him out of the way. So you a Yoju? He said, and it began to chomp at us. Run for it, Ichikawa. I yelled, get out of here as fast as you can. Once you're out of harm's way, send out an alert. But, sir, you'll be on your own end. I interrupted him. You think a second person will make a difference? I said you're dead set on joining the Defense Force, aren't you? What will dying her prove? Get out of here, send out an alert, and ask Izuku to help train you. He'll explain why. With that, Reno ran off, and I grabbed a pipe to use as a weapon. The Yoju I was up against was small and looked like a human crossed with a spider. Yeah, I'm completely screwed. It threw a punch, and I barely blocked with my pipe it bending from a force. Damn it, how did things end up like this? I thought, then remembered when I was younger with Mina. We were looking out over a Kaiju decimated city. Our homes, the school, all of it's been destroyed. Huh, Mina? I asked her. Yes, she said. You lousy Kaiju idiots. I yelled out. I was so close to beating all the stages in Giraman. That's what you're sad about? Mina asked. I'm sad that Maiko ended up dying. She said with tears in her eyes. Maiko the Calico, right? I asked. There was silence for a bit, and we sat down. I'm going to join the Defense Force. We both said, then looked at each other. Get real. What's a brat like you even talking about? I told her. You realize you're still in grade school, right, Kafka? She yelled at me. Okay, then. I said, we'll just see which of us becomes the cooler officer. Let's wipe out the Kaiju together, we both said together. I was brought back to the present when the Yoju slammed its hand down and broke my left leg. I called out. It wasn't supposed to end up this way. The monster was drooling and prepared to eat me now. I could do nothing to stop it. Yeah, I heard Reno yell out as he hit the Yoju over the head with a downed road sign. Ichikawa. I said, you idiot. Why did you? I sent the alert. He said, stepping in front of me. That's not what I'm asking. If I abandoned you here, sir. He began. I could never join the defense force. Damn it, damn it, damn it, I thought. I'm so powerless. I haven't changed one bit. I can't protect anything, not my game console, not my friend's cat, not even a rookie from my job. F it, I yelled out. Suddenly, I and Ichikawa were nowhere near the Yoju. Izuku showed up and nabbed us. I got the alert message, and when I didn't see you guys, I got worried, so I rushed over. He said, setting us down. Did you tap into more of your power? You can take that thing down? I asked him. Power? What power? Reno asked. Oh no, I thought as Izuku hit me over the head. I'll explain later when we can be alone, Izuku told him. As for your question, Kafka, no, I just got you out of harm's way, because he was cut off by a loud boom from a Yoju. The 3rd Division was already here to eliminate it. He finished. Hey, I rushed in and grabbed these two to get them out of the way. They both need immediate medical attention. He called over to the 3rd Division officers. Time skip South Yokohama General Hospital. Mina is something else. I thought that thing was the stuff of nightmares, and she took it down like it was nothing. She's way out of my league now. Hey, sir. Reno said I'd be a dead man if you didn't save me today. That was really cool. We'll just see which of us becomes the cooler officer, I remembered. I think you should join the defense force. He said. Reno is right, you need to give it one more shot at least. Izuku said from Reno's bedside. Besides, what was the point of you training with me otherwise? You two are right, I said. I can't keep running from the truth forever. Enough is enough. Thanks, Midoriya, Ichikawa. You two are truly some stand-up guys. I'm going to shoot for the defense force one more TI. I saw a small flying kaiju in front of me and stopped talking. I found you, it said menacingly. It's a kai. I was interrupted by it flying into my mouth, forcing me to eat it. A Kafka, you okay? Izuku said. So you okay? Are your wounds acting up? Or Ichikawa said, pulling aside my screen. Wah. Wah. I copied. Kafka, look in the mirror and don't panic, Izuku said. I did as he said, and what I saw scared me. My reflection was now a kaiju. No, I was now a kaiju. Remain calm, both of you. The best thing for us to do is sneak out without letting anyone notice him, Izuku said. An old man was standing in our open doorway. He lifted his phone and called an alert. We need to go now. He picked up Ichikawa and put him on his shoulder. Open the window softly. Right, I said, opening the window, and it broke the wall. Sorry. No time to apologize now, go. Reno said from Izuku's back. Mina, a Shiro POV. I was remembering that day in the library. We were still kids, really studying for our ambition to join the defense force. Kinda scary, huh? I asked. What is? Kafka asked me. The thought of fighting a kaiju 100 times our size. I said, chewing on a pen. He patted me on the head. Don't you worry. He said, when that time comes, I'll be right by your side. He smiled at me. I cracked my knuckles coming out of the memory. Liar. I said, my phone ringed, right, sir? No, not a problem at all. I will deploy my team and have it put down. Kafka POV. What the hell is going on with me? I said as we ran down the road. It's obvious, isn't it? Izuku said. You've somehow become a kaiju. Remind me to check your DNA later. Shouldn't we focus on getting him out of here so he doesn't get killed by the 3rd Division? Reno shouted from Izuku's back. That's why I said later, dude. Izuku replied. Guys, we have a problem, I said. Oh no, are they on our tail? They both asked. No, I need to take a leak. I said, very serious bad. Right now. Reno shouted. I'm begging you, just hold it in. I would if I could, but this body has a mind of its own. I said back, I can't fight the urge. What? Reno shouted. Izuku, how are you not freaking out? I will explain that when I explain what Kafka lets slip, i.e. when we are in privacy, he shouted at him. This isn't good. I'm an adult human being. I said the last thing I want to do is pee in the middle of a public street. Where would it even come from? There's nothing down there, so... Suddenly I peed from both my nips. Well, that was something, Izuku said. So you okay? Reno asked me. No one would take me as their bride now. Just leave me here to die. I yelled out. Kafka, you're a guy. Izuku said. I looked at them and tilted my head. You weren't going to be anyone's bride to begin with. Reno said, you'll be fine. Come on, we need to keep moving, Izuku said, helping me up. Wait, Izuku, Ichikawa, what's going to happen to me now? I asked them, think I have a shot at the defense force? No, nobody, nope, not a chance. Reno said. Sure you do, Izuku said. What are you talking about? Reno asked him. He is a kaiju. They will kill him. Well, they use kaiju to power their weapons, right? He retorted, why not use a kaiju as a living weapon? No, if he wants to join it, should be kept a secret, period, Reno said. I don't want to take that risk of him being killed. Okay, I'll keep the secret, Izuku said, smiling to himself. Sure, something's coming. I said. Officers? Reno asked. From underground. It's a kaiju, I said, looking behind me to see explosion. The same kind as the one that attacked us yesterday. Fascinating, Izuku said. You have the ability to detect that. Reno said. If that's the case, they'll send fewer officers our way. Now's our chance to hide. I heard in the distance a child crying to her mother. Know we need to help Izuku? I said. Fine on it, take Ichikawa for me. He said I did as he said, and took him. How far? Quarter of a kilometer, I said. He was gone before I finished and was back with a little girl and a heavily injured woman. You need to take that thing down. It hasn't been reported, and I need to tend to her wounds. He said, pointing to the lady. It started following me, so we'll be here fast. As soon as he said that the Yoju showed up, it was moving fast. I crouched slightly and had my fist ready. 3, 2, 1. I counted down and released an uppercutting punch that obliterated the Yoju, nothing remaining except one arm. That is defiantly not something you should do to a human, Reno said. After the Yoju's vital fluid rained down on us. I will stand by her side this time, I said, and I felt my body return to normal. Izuku Midoriya, the character most people who read my stories are familiar with. Height, 166 centimeters, 5 feet 5 1/4 inches. Hair, green with black highlights. Eyes green. Age, 16. Likes, Katsudan, the color red, hanging out with Kafka and Reno and Kiko. Likes to analyze things, and has found a new hobby in understanding technology and the world around him, mostly due to the kaiju that inhabit this world. Kafka Hibino, also known as Kaiju number 8. Height, human 181 centimeters, 5 feet 9 inches. Kaiju varies. Hair, human dark brown. Kaiju none. Eye, human light green. Kaiju cyan. Age, 32. Likes, hamburgers. Mina Ashiro, hanging with his friends and platoon members, used to like drinking and cigarettes. Izuku convinced him to give it up, and training with his friends. Reno Ichikawa, the normally chill dude. Height, 174 centimeters, 5 feet 7 inches. Hair, silver. Eye, violet. Age, 18. Likes, music, cooking, shonen manga, like to train with Izuku and Kafka. Kikoru Shinamiya, not yet in the story yet. Height, 157 centimeters, 5 feet 1 inch. Hair blonde. Eye green. Age, 16. Likes, exterminating bad kaiju, black tea, Darjeeling tea specifically, large dogs, and Izuku. Izuku POV. Me and Ichikawa were in Monster Sweepers HQ chilling with the others. Hard to believe it's been 3 months, I said, looking at the composite image made of Kaiju number 8, the code name they gave to Kafka's Kaiju form. Oh yeah, Ichikawa. Izuku, the boss, said from his desk. These came in for you too, and Kafka. He's on site right now, working the early shift. Deliver this to him for me. Oh, it's from the Defense Force, Ichikawa said, opening and reading his. We passed, Izuku, we passed. Yeah, I already knew we would. It's the easiest portion of the test. I said, meet me at the apartments with Kafka. It's time I told you the truth. Right, I'll be there, he said, and ran off to go get Kafka. Hey boss, I got them made, I said, pulling out a box of my freshly made respirators. Ah, good. We'll take the whole lot. How much? He said, coming over to inspect them. Well, I'll give you a discount since I work here. Let's say 10,000 yen per unit. I have 12,100 for each of you guys. I said, deal, I'll write up a check, the boss said. Time skipped to later. Ah, good, you guys are here, I said, answering my door and letting them into my apartment. Wow, Izuku, did you make all of this yourself? Kafka asked me. My house is filled with tech and other advancements. Most of it is stuff I bought and modified, I said. Other is stuff I made from studying the gear I brought with me from home. Home? Ichikawa asked, hearing how I said it. Right, first and foremost, take a seat, guys, I said, gesturing to the couch. I wheeled in a large TV and put up an image of an X-ray of myself. What do you see, Ichikawa? I see an X-ray of you, he said. Let's look closer, I said, switching the image that showed a glowing thing near my heart. It was a light green color. This is what we call in my world a quirk, or the visible version of it. I said, okay, but what is a quirk? He asked. A quirk is a superpower, Kafka explained for me. I nodded. In my home universe, around 80% of the world population has an uncanny ability that we came to call quirks. I explained, these quirks can be nearly anything, and in rare case, you can have more than one. Before my waking up in this universe, I had access to 6 quirks, though nowadays, I can barely access the first one. I have that being a multiplier of my strength. I can only use about 2% of my real power. Well, kind of like the division suits, Ichikawa said. Yeah, kind of, I said. Now any questions? Yeah, I could tell by your x-rays earlier that you had broken bones, bad ones at that, yet there is no visible mark? He asked. Simple, a bit of tech from here allowed me to rectify a training mistake. When I first manifested my quirk, it was unruly and would destroy my body. I explained it was one of the first things I did after registering my existence here. What did you do in this other universe? He asked next. I was a pro hero, I said. What's that? He asked. Kind of like your division officers, I guess, I said. We will need to work extra hard to pass the next parts of the exam. So, Ichikawa want to join us for training in the month we have to prepare? Yeah, sure, how hard could it be? He said. Time skipped to the next day. You do this every morning? Ichikawa said from the ground, panting. Yeah, and it is a great exercise I adapted from my Minner's aim to pass American Dream Plan, I said. Now get your butt up, we still have 8 rounds to go till we go to work. Right, he said, jumping up and falling back in a line. Let's do this. Izuku POV. Welcome to Tachikawa Base, kids, Kafka said as we stood in the parking lot next to the company car. It's bigger than the Kamagawa base I visited on my social studies trip, Reno said with a look of disbelief. I expected it to be bigger, I commented. You want it bigger? They both asked me, shock on his face. My old high school was bigger and had 7 full-scale cities for training purposes, I told them, picking my ear. Anyway, Kafka got us back on track. This place shares a building with the Japan Self-Defense Forces camp. In emergency situations, they work in conjunction to dispatch officers all over Nishi, Tokyo. Explains how they always show up so fast, I said softly. There are quite a few officers here. If you were to transform now, Reno said, there would be no helping you. Ah, no use chickening out now, Kafka said. Let's go, shall we? Hey, old man, a feminine voice said. Where's reception? Kafka asked. I said, hey, old man. The voice said again. Sir? Reno said, poking to get Kafka's attention. With that, we all turned around and looked at the person behind the voice. Yes, I mean you, old man, she said. That should have been obvious. You simpleton. Huh? Kafka said. Me? You an examinee? I asked. You must be my age. Well, I did graduate from my university early this year at the age of 16, she said, looking at me. I am not an old man. Kafka screamed at her. I'm only 32 years old. Defiantly an old man, she said. That scrap heap is yours, right? It's in the way. I need to park my car, so move it. You're Kikoru Shinomiya, aren't you? I asked her, daughter of Isao Shinomiya, General Director of the Defense Force. Yeah, that's me, she said. So why do you want the spot? I asked her. Well, my lucky number today is 5, she told me. Well, if your skill is just as I read, you should have no trouble getting into the Defense Force, I said. So why bother with lucky numbers? And what do you know of my skills? She asked me. Only that you're a prodigy of rare exception that has been groomed to join the Defense Force, I said. Your skills are probably on par with my own, but time will tell. Oh, bold of you. Well, fine, you may keep the space, see you boys in there, she said, walking off to the base. What the hell was that, Midoriya? Kafka shouted. A little bit of flattery is key to democracy, I said. Besides, I knew where the conversation you started with her was headed, and it could have gotten you killed. Let's go and take the test. Don't want to be late. Time skipped to the physical test. Really, they just want us to finish this simple obstacle course. Brings back memories. I thought, though, that was much harder than this. I went to the back of the group to give them a chance. Once the gun was fired, I blitzed the course without even using my quirk. There was a long run followed by a scaling wall and more running. Ultimately, I came in first out of 225 with a solid 4-minute finish time between me and second place. Kafka came in at 202, and Reno came in at 197. You weren't kidding when you said you were strong, Uh-huh, Kikoru said, coming up to me. Well, my training regiment is pretty extreme, and if those two followed it perfectly with enough time, they could be on par with me, I said, pointing to Kafka and Reno. You ever been in a division suit? She asked me. Nope, but I have punched and taken down a few kaiju, I commented. Ha ha, you're kidding, right? She asked. No, they were a couple of yoju, I said. You'll have to tell me that story sometime, she said. Examinees who have passed follow me. One of the officers said, and we followed. Welcome to Defense Force Training Area 2, a man with a purple bowl cut announced. I'm the head of the Screening Exam Selection Committee, 3rd Division, Vice Captain Hashina. For the second section, your task in the training area will be to... I could practically hear Kafka hoping for what Reno told him. How the past 2 years this portion has been on dismantling kaiju. Neutralize kaiju. The vice captain said. Kafka and Reno's faces were priceless. What happened to dismantling kaiju? Kafka shouted at Reno. Explain yourself. Ichikawa. Don't blame me. Reno replied. I just told you what they did the past 2 years. Of course, we can't send you out there unarmed, the vice captain said, so we're outfitting you with these. He pointed his thumb behind him to a room. Reno POV. What is this? I thought, it's like it is becoming one with my body. Body measurement and form assimilation complete. The computer controlling the suit announced. Kaiju muscle fibers, fully operational. Now measuring unleashed combat power. I can feel my physical strength multiplying, I thought, and gripped my hand tightly. So this is what it's like to wear a Defense Force suit. Reno Ichikawa, the computer announced unleashed combat power. 10%. Excuse me? I said. What does unleashed combat power mean? Vice Captain Hashina POV. It indicates how much of the suit's power you're drawing out. I replied to Ichikawa's question. In other words, I'm only capable of drawing out 10% of its power. He said, looking a little upset. Ha ha ha. I laughed. Hey, 10%'s nothing to sneeze at, kid. Besides, a trained general officer only gets about 20%, so it's... Beep. Wait, are you serious? Kikoru Shinamiya. Unleashed combat power 46%. One of our scientists said. Hey, wait a second, that would put her in the same class as a platoon leader. I thought, isn't that a new record for someone pre-enlistment? Another scientist said. Haruchi Izumo, 18%. The scientist before said. Aoi Kaguraji, 15%. Iharu Furuhashi, 14%. Having just one person who can manage over 10% is good enough. But this? Wow, this is our luckiest year yet. I shouted in joy. I looked down at a forlorn Reno Ichikawa. Oh, but don't get discouraged, Ichikawa. As long as your number's above 0, you're sure to pass. I mean, it's not like I've ever seen anyone output a 0 BFO. Beep, 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 the computer said. Oh, our last two for this round 0%, the scientist said. And 80% and rising 85, 90, 95, 100. Way to drop back to 80, 70, 60, 50. This is as low as I can lower it, damn it. The examinee said. Oh yeah, clench your muscles to help synchronize. Correction on the 0, sir. It has risen to 2%, the scientist said. That's not what I want to focus on. What is the highest recorded unleashed combat power? I said. That would be General Director Isao Shinomiya, using numbers weapon 2 at full release 98%, sir. The 100% kid said. Exactly, and you have 100% and feel no strain? I shouted to him. Well, I will tell you all a secret if I get into the Defense Force that should explain this. He said, what's your name? I asked. Izuku Midoriya. He said he then secured his personal respirator. Oh, and I want to talk to the General Director at some point about making this respirator. I am wearing standard issue. It is very advanced and designed by myself. All right, each of you, take the basic weapons, and we'll send you out there. I said, and they all equipped the equipment and headed out. What equipment did Izuku take with him? I asked one of our scientists. He took all the equipment that was offered, except he is using his respirator, was her response. All of the examinees were in the testing area now. Your targets are the 36 Hanju and Yoju positioned on this wide, open training area modeled after an urban district. I told them all through provided earpieces. These kaiju claimed 16 victims in Hakioji last year. We captured them alive to aid in training the next generation of recruits. You've all been assigned an auto-tracking drone, which we'll use to monitor your actions. Smart way to do it. Wonder if Nizi used something similar for the entrance exam. We barely heard Izuku say to himself. In the event that we determine your life is in danger, we'll activate your suit's shield remotely, I said. But be warned, if we take this action, you failed. To be frank, there's no guarantee you'll make it out of this with your lives, but if you're prepared to forge ahead anyway in spite of that, then get out there. Vice Captain Hashina POV. Sir, before we proceeded, I pulled up Midoriya's file, as you requested. A scientist said. I walked over and began to read the surprisingly short file. Midoriya, Izuku, age 16, resident of the Nishi, Tokyo area for 1 year and a half. I read aloud. Where's the rest of his file? That is it, sir. It is almost like he just popped into existence and then took the test to become a Japanese citizen. She said, no country of origin, no birth certificate. All that proves his existence is his current ID, his employment record, and an early graduation from a major university. Interesting, I said. This kid is quite the mystery. Let's begin the test. The testing site is Izuku POV. I was standing there performing a check on all my equipment, multiple types of rounds. That's good to know. Let's see: burst rounds, freeze rounds, and shock rounds. With that in mind, I proceeded to eject the burst round in the provided handgun, replacing it with the freeze round. Hey Izuku, what are you doing? Kafka asked, walking up to me, which got Reno's attention as well. I am replacing the burst round in the provided handgun with a freeze round. I said since if we're down to just the handgun, we will need all the help we can get. It makes the most sense. Wait, they provided other round types? Reno asked me. Yeah, they're in that pouch, I said, pointing to them. Well done, everyone, for taking this extra time to prepare, Hashina said over our earpieces. Now, your targets are the 36 Hanju and Yoju positioned in this wide, open training area modeled off of an urban district. You've each been assigned an auto-tracking drone, which we'll use to monitor your actions. In the event that we determine your life is in danger, we'll activate your suit's shield remotely. But be aware, if we take that action, you've failed. Now get out there and do your best. With that, I launched forward and began to fire at any Yoju that caught my sights, doing my best to optimize each shot. After taking down approximately 8 Yoju, my rifle seemingly jammed. Vice Captain Hashina, you must have heard that chat with Shinomiya, didn't you? I asked over the earpiece. It isn't smart to be cocky, kid, he replied. Don't worry, I'll re-enable your rifle. No, you think I was being cocky? Fine, I'll finish this test with my bare hands. I interrupted him. With that, I rushed forward, raising my unleashed combat power to 60% squadron-style combat technique, number 1 modified barrage blast. I blew apart a Yoju with a single punch. So that's what happens when I stack it, I thought. Vice Captain Hashina, POV. Sir, that was a modified version of Director Shinomiya's first technique with his numbers. Weapon, a scientist said. Yeah, and it was considerably weaker. I was watching, I replied, turning back to watching the test. That's not it, sir. She interrupted me. For a split second, Izuku Midoriya output a fortitude level much like Director Shinomiya during a max unleashed strike. Granted, on a smaller level perhaps, because he only raised the suit up to 60%. What fortitude did he output? I asked, my interest piqued. He achieved a fortitude of approximately 6.8. She replied. We looked back to see him fighting more and more Yoju using his modified techniques, sometimes even switching to his legs to deliver the attack. That fortitude is so far consistent with each of his strikes. Okay, keep monitoring him closely. We need to focus on the weaker examinees for now, I said, turning to monitor Hibino and Ichikawa. He has progressed further since the last time I saw him, Captain Mina said from behind me. Who are you talking about, Captain Ishiro? I asked her. An old friend, you could say, was her only response. She steeled her gaze and went to read the files on the testers. I could have sworn she was looking at Hibino. Reno POV. Ichikawa, let's stick together and attack the same kaiju. Kafka said. That should have been my line, sir. I replied. We don't have the offensive power the others do. Look, why would they give us drones if our sole task was to neutralize kaiju? He said. You have a point. If that was the case, they could just count them with sensors, I thought out loud. Furthermore, they wouldn't have had a reason to disable Izuku's weapons. They must be seeing how we adapt to our given situation, whether it is one by our own bodies or one they set up for us. Exactly why I suggested we work together, Kafka said excitedly. If we work together, we can compound our attacks into a combined front. Right, let's go, I said, and we rushed off to fight. As we were running, Kafka gave his idea for an attack. These Yoju and Hanju are sensitive to light since they normally dwell underground, he said. I'll rush by and throw a flash grenade, and you take the shot to take it down. Copy, I said, and watch him run ahead and throw up the grenade. I blinked in time for the flash to pass, and I heard a loud roar. I opened my eyes and took aim for where its core should be and fired, blowing the Yoju wide open. Good work. Let's keep it up, Ichikawa, Kafka said, and we ran off to continue our strategy. We took down 2 more Yoju like that, when suddenly Kafka was attacked and knocked away by a Yoju. Cough, Hyun, that hurt, but I'm not out, you idiot, he yelled, then raised his rifle up, taking aim and firing at its weak stomach, firing multiple rounds, taking it down. Sir, are you okay? I asked, rushing over to look him over. Yeah, just some small bruising, I think, he said, doing his self-examination. I should be able to keep going. He gave me a knowing look, and I knew immediately that his kaiju detecting sense helped him out. He must have partially changed his body under the suit to take the attack from a Yoju. That was risky, sir, I said. Yeah, I know if there was any way for me to take it without doing it, I would have. He said, getting up. Besides, you know what Izuka would say. You might need to get used to it one day. I said as little as possible since I knew we were being watched. Kikoru POV. Midoriya was amazing to watch, even when he was forced to fight using his fists. I had to pull forward. I began to rush further into the complex, shooting any of the kaiju I could. I fired at them all and finally made it to the Hanju, releasing multiple shots, destroying it. And that concludes this exam. You all did very well, Vice Captain Hashina said over the comms. We will now recall the drones and begin tending to any injured. Hashina POV. She's everything I've heard about and more, Captain Mina said. Kikoru, Shinomiya, that is. Indeed, I responded. We projected at least 30 dropouts, but as it stands, we have 0 dropouts and minimal injuries to boot. I'd say this is a direct result of those 2 being present here today. 2, she said. Who is the other one? A case I intend to investigate when he is let in to the division. Izuka Midoriya. I responded. Kikoru POV. I did it perfectly right, Daddy, I said to myself, looking up to the sky. Now then, I suppose I should head back and rub my defeat of the Hanju in Midoriya's face. Suddenly, I felt a presence behind me, and I turned around to see a humanoid kaiju with a flat, almost mushroom-shaped head. Oh, what is that thing? I thought, looking at it. It wasn't on the neutralization list last I saw. Suddenly, it raised its hand, pointing a finger at me, and in an instant my left side was shot through. Reno POV. The exam was ended, and I was laying on my back resting next to Hibino-san. Kikoru and Izuku are pure monsters, I said as we lay there, and to think Izuku was holding back significantly. Yeah, it's thanks to Izuku that I could really participate in this event, Sir said calmly. Still wish I could have shown her up. He sat up suddenly. Those 2 made it possible for us to keep up with the pack in the end. Nothing to do now except wait for the results. I sat up to meet him, Yaorai. I was cut off by the bodies of the slaughtered kaiju regenerating. What the hell? Hibino said. Kikoru POV. Cough cough. I could hear the dripping of my own vital fluid. I managed to that shot from reaching my heart by focusing my shield on a single point. Pretty sure I can still fight. There was a rumble, and I looked up to see that kaiju that shot me healing the Hanju I took down. What is this? I asked out loud. There. Good boy. The unnamed kaiju soothed the revived one. I'll leave the rest to you. It spoke. I thought. I turned and pointed at me. Chew well and eat up now, it said. The ground shook as the revived kaiju moved to a standing position. The mysterious kaiju disappeared. Hashina POV. Beep beep number 2016's vitals are abnormal, a scientist said. What the hell? I shouted, confused. What's going on down there? I'm picking up vital signs from the dead kaiju in the training area. An analyst said. It's as if they're reviving one after another. What's going on here? Those kaiju shouldn't be capable of that. I thought to myself, we have a revived Hanju's estimated fortitude. The analyst yelled out. It's 6.4. It's increased in strength. At that level, it'd take a whole company to dispose of it. I thought, I'd say the only ones here capable of taking it down solo would be Hashina. Mina broke me from my thought. We're deploying. Roger. I said, either me or the captain, maybe Izuku if he went all out. Activate all Examinee's remote shields and send a portion of her called drones back out so we can see what's happening. Izuku's POV. The Kaiju are reviving. I have a bad feeling about this. I thought to myself looking around. Attention all Examinees, please evacuate to the nearest shelter immediately. An announcement played over the comms. That's not good. I finally saw something that scared me. Kikoru was down on the ground, right in front of the massive Hanju. I ran over to Kafka and grabbed him and Reno. We need to help Kikoru. With that wound that has her down, she won't be able to stand for a moment. Something here wounded her? Kafka shouted out loud. This is serious then. Reno said, what's the plan, Izuku? Reno, you'll guard Kikoru. We can't guarantee she is safe to move at the moment. I told him. He nodded. Kaiju and I will take down the Kaiju. And I can't stress this enough. Be prepared to unleash that we will pre-form damage control later. Okay, I will if we need it, he told me. With luck we won't, I said, and with that we separated. I pulled ahead, releasing my full output of 100% combat power shooting forward. Deep down, I felt a familiar surge. I could go further with my quirk, now, about 10% one for all. Squadron-style combat technique. I shouted out loud, pulling even further ahead in a flash of lightning. Number 4, Rising Blast. I reached the Kaiju and, with a thunderous clap, uppercut it and sent it into the air. Its regeneration is insane, I said when I saw the chunk I had punched out already healed. Suddenly, I felt a surge, and without any real reason, the combat suit ripped itself apart, like it couldn't handle the strain I put on it. I was also really tired. All of a sudden, I began to fall back, and I felt Kafka catch me. I got you, Izuku, he said, and brought me back over to Kikoru and Reno. There was a loud thud, and the Kaiju landed behind him. I saw it healing rapidly. Kafka, use it, I said, then I passed out. Kafka POV. I was stunned, something that managed to beat out Izuku. I set him down next to Kikoru. You guys watch over him carefully. I need to go take out the garbage. What can you do with a measly 2% combat power? Kikoru shouted. Izuku had 100%, and the thing survived him. We will explain it to you later after we are all safe, I heard Reno say as I walked up to meet the Kaiju's charge. I changed in a burst of smoke. Wait, you're Kaiju number 8. Kikoru shouted at me. We will explain later. I shouted at her when a beam launched from the Kaiju in front of me. I deflected it using my arm with ease. After that, I began to charge up like Izuku taught me to. Hashina POV. Sir, we are detecting an abnormally high energy emission near the Hanju's location. A scientist told me over the comms. What do you have visual? I asked her. No drones haven't made it there yet, she told me. The fortitude is 9.8. You nuts? That last jolt must have fried the calculation device. I shouted back at her. Yeah, that must be it, she told me. 'Cause if that isn't an error, I said to her, then whatever this is would go down in history as one of the greatest kaiju to ever exist at Daikaiju. Kikoru POV. I saw the immense energy coming off of Kaiju number 8. That Hanju prepared an attack. From Kafka's leg, 3 spikes emerged and then stabbed into the ground as if to brace him. Sorry, but time is ticking, he said. So I'm cleaning you up in one shot. The arm he had cocked back's elbow opened up, revealing a hole. Lightning like energy similar to what surrounded Izuku began to come off of him. Suddenly, with insane speed, his arm rocketed forward, meeting the Hanju's punch, cleaving flesh from bone, then shattering the bone, leaving behind only a leg intact. Hashina POV. What do you make of this mess, Hashina? Captain Ishiro asked me. Even with how strong those two are, I began my statement, even with the report of Midoriya overloading his designated suit. Neither of them could have done this. I gestured to the decimated body of the captured Hanju and one Yoju. In fact, this massacre shows similarities to the incident from 3 months ago, shortly after Kaiju number 8's first appearance. The only detectable difference being the seemingly anomalous detection of a fortitude of 9.8. I have some people investigating to see if that could have been Midoriya. Might explain how he overloaded and destroyed his suit. He was capable of outputting a fortitude level similar to younger days of Director General Shinomiya. Very well, Captain Ishiro said. This is control room. Our lead tech called over the radio. Go ahead, Captain said. It appears that 4 individuals have taken refuge in Shelter 6, she said. Reports say that Kikuru, Shinomiya, and Izuka Midoriya are among them. All seem to need various amounts of medical attention. Roger that, Captain said. See to it that they are treated. Kafka POV. Great news, Reno said from the chair next to my bed peeling an apple. Isn't it, sir? Your injuries weren't as bad as we thought. Ugh, I groaned back in the hospital again. Midoriya and Shinomiya seem to be in stable condition, he said, now starting to slice the apple. I heard they're both receiving treatment with the best science the Defense Force can muster. What about me? I sat up and shouted. I wouldn't mind some of that. We only have some minor fractures, Suri commented. Speaking of, I was also told they found some muscle and bone deterioration from multiple breaks in Midoriya's past and are doing their best to fix it. They told me the treatment seems to be going well. God, it really makes me wonder what he hasn't told us, I said, lying back down on my bed. You know about his past? Yeah, I know how you feel, he said. You remind me of some of what he told me, though. How you never gave up on your dream. Chasing it to this day, even up against the tough competition, and knowing this is your last chance. Bold of you to think I'd stop chasing my dream if I failed here, I said, looking at him with a hopefully confident smile. Midoriya, and you have fired me up. I'll never stop chasing this dream of mine. You guys were just the reminder I needed. All of this is because you guys gave me that initial push. A almost metallic clack caught our attention as someone else entered the room. Wait, Reno said, looking at our guest. You're Captain Ishiro. Mina. I thought. Captain, Reno said. What are you doing here? I was informed that the 2 of you transported the severely injured Midoriya and Shinomiya to safety, she said, and gave us both a salute. Your rescue efforts are greatly appreciated. She turned and began walking away. That's all. Good day. Me. I started. No. I'll speak to her after I become an officer. Just you wait, Mina. Kokubunji City, Tokyo. POV. There was trouble at the Defense Force testing site, the radio reporter said. Reports state that dead Kaiju suddenly started springing back to life. Although a few participants were injured, there have been 0 fatalities. Huh? I said, confused. 0? 0? Wait. How are there 0 fatalities? Is this captain of theirs really that strong? Be easy, the phone buzzed. Oh, let's see here. I'm pretty sure you answer a phone like this. I pressed a button, giving it a soft beep. Hello? Where'd you get off to? The man on the other end said. Break time's over, you know. Oh, oops. I said. Don't you oops me. He shouted. Come on, we've got to at least tear down what's on the tracks before the first train comes in. Yes, sir, I said, my flesh bubbling and changing texture and color. Yes, sir, be right there. Right, I'm getting myself together this instant. I hung up the phone as I adjusted the zipper on my hazmat suit. Good grief, humans are so fussy about time. Geez, one of my group said as I walked outside the building. Got us all worried. Yeah, I said, rubbing the back of my neck. Sorry about that. I kind of got a case of the runs. Make sure you say something before holing up in the John, newbie. He told me. We started to walk to our project site. Hey, by the way, I heard there was some accident at the testing site. Someone commented. For real? The guy who was chewing me out said. I hope Kafka, Midoriya, and Ichikawa are all right. Suddenly my head whirled around my flesh, not quit settled into this form. Whoops, I thought. Can't go losing my head now. Izuku POV. I was passed out in a medical ward, I think. I was floating in a familiar dark place. Suddenly, I felt ground beneath my feet, and I began to walk in the darkness. I stumbled on a space with 8 seats around a hearth with a small fire. As I approached closer, the other users of one, for all began to fill their respective seats. What is this about, Yoichi? I asked the first person as I made it to the ring of seats. Wasn't me who called this meeting, it was him. The white-haired, green-eyed man sitting at the head of the semicircle said, pointing to the fiery, misty visage of my mentor. I turned to him, and he began to speak. Sorry for not speaking sooner, Izuku. He apologized. It wasn't really possible to contact you till now. This new world you are in has made things hard. Are you still connected to the living All Might? I asked. I was only able to get confirmation that you successfully managed to beat All for One. He said, the real reason we brought you here is to explain why your quirks are behaving weird. I've been trying to figure that out, I said. The fire we have created over the years was nearly snuffed when you landed here. Yoichi stepped up to explain. The embers that remained reignited when you saved. I believe you call him Kafka. We think it will only grow stronger the more reason you have to save people here, Daigoro, the fifth user, said. Only we aren't sure that's the best thing to do, Nana interrupted. We think that they could confuse you for a kaiju if you get much more power than this. We already think you having 100% of this unleashed combat power is weird enough to them. I already have a plan to explain my power once I have joined the defense force, I explained. I intend to reveal to them that I am from another universe. Do you have any way to prove it to them? The second user asked me. I have my school ID and my provisional hero license, I said. And as a last resort, the tech that came with me in my hero suit. That might do it, he replied. The darkness around me began to lighten up. I believe it is time for you to wake up. Yoichi said. See you guys another time, I said calmly, and let light envelope me as I woke up in a tank of liquid that was slowly draining. Ah, welcome back, Izuku, Vice Captain Hashina said, looking at me form outside the tank. You have some explaining to do. He waited for the med tech to get me out of the tank and into a bed for further examination. Okay. So we found out through extensive X-ray that you had broken multiple bones in the past. Mind explaining these injuries? Well, when I was younger, I was a little accident-prone, I told him. But my bones are nice and strong nowadays. They should be even stronger than you remember them, I think. He commented. The technology we use to heal you and Kikuru over there is top of the line and is capable of extreme healing. Well, I thank you for that, I said. When will I know if I made it into the division? Scores get sent out in 2 days, he said, standing up. In your case, as well as Kafka and Reno, we were requested to send them to your place of work. I look forward to your future, Izuku. Time skip 3 days. Kafka, Reno, and me were sitting in the Monster Sweeper's office eating our lunch, waiting to see if any calls would come in. Then our boss walked in holding 3 packets. Reno, Kafka, Izuku, these came in for you just now. He said, passing them out to us. Should we open them at the same time? Kafka asked. I stared at Reno for the moment, and we had a mental argument on what we should do. Ultimately, we came to an agreement. Kafka, you should open yours first, I told him. Okay, he said, and opened his packet. It says I got it on probation. What does that mean? It basically means you still need to prove yourself at some point in the future to be made a full officer, I explained. I believe the ancient Romans came up with it, called it probatio. I opened my own packet next. I am in as a full officer with immediate recommendation to platoon leader as positions become available. What about you, Reno? Kafka asked. I'm just an officer for now, he said. That weekend was the ceremony. We were all present in full uniform, ready to be called up to get our credentials. Captain Ashiro was at the podium, ready to begin, when someone came up to the stage and whispered something to her. It would seem we have had a small change of plan, she said. General Director Shinomiya has decided to come down and present our induction certificates himself. Just like that, the room's double doors opened and in walked General Shinomiya. We all stood at attention and saluted him as he walked up and onto the stage. I am here to recognize the outstanding achievements brought along by all of you, he said at the podium. Now on to our first certificate, passing with highest marks in the examination, Izuku Midoriya. He said, and I walked up onto the stage. He began to offer me my certificate. You preformed, so, well, you have been placed at most requests for a new platoon leader, should a place arise. Yes, Captain, I said. As of today, consider the officers who passed alongside you as your practice for future responsibility. He told me. He turned to the rest of them. As of today, the 28 of you are hereby members of the Defense Force. On behalf of all 28 of us, sir, I said calmly. I solemnly swear to lay my life on the line and save all those before me suffering. With a smile on my face. You performed a great service in the post-exam incident, he responded. As a result of your efforts, there were no fatalities. I extend my thanks once more. Thank you, sir, I said. With that, I conclude this acceptance ceremony, he announced. Now I expect you all to go far. This is the finest year of newbies we've seen in a while. Izuku's POV. We had a meeting with Kikoru at my old place yesterday. We explained everything to her. We explained how I am not of this universe. We explained how Kafka became the Kaiju designated as number 8. When we were done, she seemed to have taken the information pretty well. She had just stood up, and we were saying goodbye when a knock came at the door. I answered the door to be met by the vice captain. Oh, hello, Vice Captain Ashina, I said. Hello, Izuku, he said before coming in. Okay, so I've gotten a meeting arranged for us to try and get a meeting for you to speak with the general and the board about your secret. Oh, well, good to see you too, Kikoru, Kafka, and Reno. Anyway, it is actually fortunate that you are here as well, Kikoru. What do you mean? She asked him. Well, due to this meeting for the first week, you and Izuka here will be in charge of training the recruits, he said. Reno and Kafka's eyes widened largely. Oh, dear God, why? I heard Kafka say. What's up with those two? Hashina asked. They have both been training with me before, I explained. Put simply, I go very hard with regards to training. Hard is an understatement, Izuku, Kafka said. Our new co-workers won't know what hit them, Reno said. Hey, given enough time, it will make their percentage go up for sure, I said, rubbing my nose. Okay, well, you are in charge, Izuku. Kikoru, is you vice captain here? Hashina said, walking to the door. Understood, sir, Kikoru said. Afterwards, we had all my stuff moved out and into storage, same as Reno and Kafka's stuff. We moved into the barracks with the bare minimum of supplies that we would need from the outside world. We all had a celebratory dinner with the rest of our platoon mates, and then went to bed peacefully. 5 a.m. brink of dawn. Like that, all of the platoon woke up with a bit of a start, looking around some asking what's going on. Kafka and Reno ugged in their beds and got up beginning to get dressed, Kikoru following their lead. Morning, fellas, I said to the rest of the platoon, holding a bugle horn in one hand and a bag of bananas in the other. Vice Captain Hashina informed Kikoru and I that we were in charge of training today. Okay, and we woke up this early because... Iharu asked, This is how early Izuku trains most days. Kafka answered for me, now fully dressed and standing behind me. Alongside Reno, Kikoru was standing next to me. Pray Sealy, now the rest of you get dressed in sportswear and stand in platen formation behind me and Kiku, I addressed. A short while later, they were all behind me. Wonderful. Here you go, I said, tossing everyone a single banana. That is all you may eat before we finish training today. Well, then how bad can the training be if it can be done on a single banana? Izumo shrugged. You fool, Kafka whispered. You have no idea what you have done, Reno said. For that comment, Haruchi, I began. The whole platoon will now add on another 150 to each of the exercises and an additional 5 kilometers to the run. Kafka and Reno hung their head. That's it? Kaguraji said. Kafka and Reno looked at him with a death glare. Okay, then now you all will double the training regiment, I said. Now enough talk, I will now explain the regiment. 300 push-ups, sit-ups, and burpees alternating every 50 and a 10-kilometer run afterwards. Due to the talk of it not being hard and me doubling your training today, it is 600 push-ups, sit-ups, and burpees alternating every 50 and a 20-kilometer run. All that on a single banana, you're crazy, Midoriya. Ihara shouted. Is that what you think? I said. Fine, if you want me to reduce the training for today, I pondered out loud, holding my chin. I got it. If any one of you can last a minute in the ring with me, I will reduce the training back down to the original plan I made for the day. Sound like a deal? Hell yeah, Ihara said. Seems reasonable enough, Izumo said, looking me up and down. Easy, Kaguraji said. Before you guys try that, Kafka spoke up. Have any of you taken on a kaiju without a combat suit? Know who would be crazy enough to do that? They all replied. Kafka just tilted his head towards me. You're joking, right? Iharu asked him. Not only without a combat suit, but with his bare hands, Reno said. I tap out. Iharu and Izumo said at the same time. They're bluffing for you, Kaguraji said. You really think that? I asked him. He nodded. Okay then, to the ring. We all walked over to the Tachikawa Base Indoor Training Center, where we had a boxing ring. Kaguraji and I climbed on in, and I began to take off my sweatsuit jacket, leaving me in my tank top I had on underneath. Like this, but without the arm brace, thanks to the fancy healing they did on him. This was done by an artist called Pero over on Danbrew. You ready, Kaguraji? I asked, standing in a relaxed manner, him being in a ready boxing stance. Yeah, he said. You gonna get in a stance or not? In my experience, a stance is pointless when compared to a relaxed body, I said. Seeing as a stance can give away too much about your fighting style. Since you're ready, Kafka ring the bell at the next full minute and someone time the match. Got you covered, Izuku, Kikoru said. Begin, Kafka said. Kaguraji rushed in and began to swing at me with his right fist in an open arc squadron-style combat technique number 2, Force Blast. I delivered a single powerful strike to his stomach, knocking the wind out of him. Number 1, Barrage Blast. I spun around, gathered a strong footing, and delivered a powerful elbow blow to the same spot, knocking him back close to the ropes. Number 4, Rising Blast. I rushed in and delivered an uppercut to his lower jaw, sending him up and over the ropes, counting as a ring out. Time, Kikoru said, stopping her timer. He was knocked out with exactly 1 second before Kaguraji would win. Dang it, all the other Platinum members said. We'll round down. I said, picking some gunk from behind my ear. You all do the original plan, okay? Yes, sir. They all said, getting started right away. Kikoru POV. He fights just like Daddy. I thought, watching Izuku deliver the initial stomach blow. Were all of those attacks that my father specializes in. Izuku, will Kaguraji be okay? I asked. Oh yeah. He said, waving it off. Frankly, that was me holding back a lot. That was him holding back, I thought, sweating slightly. Anyway, he'll be up in a moment, and then he will begin his training now. If you'll excuse me, I need to train to keep this physique. Izuku's POV. Around 2 months since induction. We were all in a training ground, taking turns to complete an exercise. Reno was currently up for the live fire exercise. He ran around firing at place targets. I could practically hear him thinking, arms in close, relax the wrists. Place the reticle on your mark, and don't pull the trigger, squeeze it. Just like that, he would take a moment to line up the shot and fire, 3 targets dead on. Reno Ichikawa. One of the technicians said, live fire exercise complete. Time 2 minutes, 35 seconds. Estimated unleashed combat power, 18%. 2 months, and I've only managed to climb 8% more. I heard him say to himself. Hey bud, that's still quite the growth spurt, I told him. Vice Captain Hashina's POV. Oh, he's grown this much in such a short time. I thought to myself. Very impressive. Iharu's POV. Freakin' Reno. I thought, another growth spurt? I wrapped up my live fire exercise as fast as possible. Iharu Furuhashi, 2 minutes, 15 seconds. Estimated unleashed combat power, 20%. The technician said, I got into Ichikawa's face, there I win. So don't get cocky, punk. Rest assured I'm not. Was his reply. Kikoru Shinomiya, 1 minute, 16 seconds. Estimated unleashed combat power, 55%. The tech said excitedly. Izuku's POV. Oh, play nice now. Both of your scores combined are well under mine anyway. Kikoru said smugly. Man, oh man. Haruchi said. The more I improve, the more she reminds me how mediocre I am. The ones on top aren't all you have to worry about. Aoi said, Haruchi, my combat power is on par with yours. He held up a digital display of his score. Time 1:59. Estimated unleashed combat power, 25%. Don't worry, I'll be sure to surpass you when my turn comes, Aoi. I said, walking past him with a glare. Kafka Hibino, the tech announced. 6 minutes, 39 seconds. Estimated unleashed combat power, 4%. Oh, hell yeah. Kafka said, excited. You see that, Kikoru? My percentage is on the rise. Why were you acting all smug? She shouted, a little freaked out, it seems. Your measly 4% barely compares to my 55. Oh, Kafka, Hashina said. Yes, sir. He responded with excitement. At this rate, in 3 months, you'll just barely fail to reach regular officer. Hashina said. Unfortunately, we might have to give you the boot. What? Kafka screamed. I pat him on the shoulder. Don't worry, Kafka. If I have any say in this, you won't disappoint, I said. He teared up and hugged me tight. Oh, Izuku, thank you so much. He shouted, I'll do anything you say to make officer. Good cause from now on your training is doubled, I said. Immediately, I was dropped and Kafka was sulking on the ground. Vice Captain Hashina's POV. Alrighty, 10 laps around the perimeter and we'll call it a day, I said, excited. What? Most of the group shouted in unison. Oh, back talk? I asked. Make it 15 laps. Now hop to it. Sir, yes, sir. They all shouted. These new recruits sure are making the sparks fly. My personal text said, aren't they? HM? Oh yeah, I said calmly. Seems like even when I'm not around, they're competing and boosting each other up. So how did Izuku do? I didn't hear you call off a score. I thought it might discourage the others, she said, looking down at her tablet. Okay, let's see. Izuku finished in 45 seconds. His unleashed combat power was withheld by him at 75%, it seems. Interesting, I said. Any theories as to why he held back so much? Well, when all things are taken into account, including us finding his suit destroyed during the exam incident, she said, pulling up the notes I asked on him. It is likely that he himself could possess a level of strength that is great enough to overpower the suit and destroy it. I would certainly love a more thorough look at him since our medical equipment came back with normal results. Well, he says he wants to talk with the higher-up when he gets the chance, I said. Says he has something important to talk with them all about. Perhaps he knows exactly what we are looking into and wishes to explain it to us and them. Perhaps, I said. Izuku's POV. It was much later in the day now, and most of us were in the bathhouse now washing up before bed. I was in a tub of hot water next to Kafka's, and he was leaning back, resting his joints. My body was completely submerged underwater, man. The vice captain knows ending training with laps is brutal, he commented. Yeah, 15 laps is nothing compared to what I normally do, I told Kafka. Your muscles still have a ways to go, Iharu said to Reno over in the washing station. Yeah, Reno. But they're pretty much the same as yours, Iharu. Reno told them. We're dead, even on the fitness test, too. Excuse me, Iharu said. Try telling that to my biceps. Biceps? Reno said. They look like mounds of nothing to me. Well, never thought Reno'd be such a sore loser, Haruchi said. You said it. Good grief. Kafka said, standing up. Quit bickering over something so stupid. The both of you. He struck a pose, flexing his arm. Now, check out this working adult's muscles. That ought to be enough to end this debate. Whoa, the old dude's freaking shredded. Iharu said. Wait a minute, your abs aren't even showing. How did you even get into the defense force? Hey, this is just something that happens. Besides, it's more natural this way, Kafka said. Let's settle this with an arm wrestling match. Oh, you're so on Gramps. Iharu said. What's with all the noise in here tonight? Aoi asked, walking in completely showing off his ripped physique. The faces on Reno and Iharu are priceless. What's the matter? Don't mind us scrawny boys. Iharu said we've clearly got a long way to go. That's a former JGSDF officer for you. Reno said, well, time for me to get out of here. I said, standing up and showing off my own great physique. It's best you all don't stay too long. As well, it's best to get a decent amount of sleep around here, when you can after all. Midoriya is ripped too, Iharu screamed. With that, I left the room to go change for bed. Kafka POV. It's been a while since I've done anything like this. I thought to myself, leaning back after Izuku left the room. Iharu said. By the way, why'd you all join the defense force? For me, it's got to be because of Captain Ishiro. She's been my idol ever since she saved me back when I was in middle school. How about you two? I joined for family reasons, but I guess we're on the same page overall. Haruchi said. Captain Ishiro is my goal. Likewise, Atsui said. Wow, Mina's got some major clout, huh? I secretly asked Reno. Of course, she is our generation's superhero after all. He told. Me. Well, old-timer? Iharu shouted at me. Let's hear it. I began. Small-time skip. You're what? Everyone but Reno shouted. Why, you're Captain Ishiro's childhood friend. Yeah, I said. And you both vowed to join the force. Iharu said, strained. The classic prom is from the past shtick? Well, it's about time I hop out. I said, getting out. Hold it. Haruchi and Aoi said, "You ain't leaving till you give us all the details." Ihara said, after a short while I managed to get out and headed to continue studying for a bit. "Working hard, I see," Hashina's voice said behind us. "But sleep is part of the job too, you know. I just can't afford to get cut from the force, sir," I said, looking at the table. "Because of Captain Ishiro?" He asked. "How did you know that?" I asked him. "You said it yourself in the bathhouse." He said, "Just so you know, any conversation held in these dorms is fair game for all. That's just plain creepy." I said, "I made a promise. I said I'd fight by her side." "Oh, I see," he said, standing up from his leaning position. "Then I take it you're aiming to steal my spot as vice captain." "Gah," I spat out. "No, sir, I didn't intend to." Then I thought for a moment. "No, actually I do intend to do just that, sir." "Fine," he said, clearly irritated. "You're on then. You've got 2 hours, that's it. Turn the lights off and lock up when you're done. Oh, and know this, Kafka. I most certainly won't be forking over my place by Captain Ishiro's side." "Thank you, sir." I saluted him. "Oh, and a word of advice," he said. "You shouldn't get too buddy-buddy with your fellow officers. In this line of work, anything could happen at any given moment." It was at that moment that an alarm began to blare across the dorms and rest of the base. "Kaiju emergence. Kaiju emergence." The intercom said, "All personnel prepare to deploy immediately." "Well, speak of the devil." The vice captain said, "Let's get moving. Time for you, first mission cadet." Izuku's POV. Target's estimated size is 150 meters, giant class. The technician said over the radio as we drove off to the attack. It appeared in Sagamihara and is now heading due north. We were all getting our gear ready and situated. The Defense Force is currently proceeding with citizen evac and material transport. "You ready?" Hashina asked all of us from his seat near the front of the truck. "It's Kaiju slaying time. Vice Captain Kafka's gonna hurl," I said, seeing his cheeks puff out a bunch. "I'm sorry," he said, looking hazy. "I was nervous, so I overate. That's when you're supposed to lose your appetite, not get hungry." Hashina shouted. "Defense Force Temporary Base 304 Leon Mall, Somihara Branch Parking Lot. That thing is our target," Reno said, looking out at an absolutely colossal fungal type Kaiju we were sent to destroy. It had to be at least 150 meters tall. It was round and stocky with a quadrupedal body. It sported a peculiar no-eyed head shaped like a giant mushroom cap, and several smaller caps, the head identifiable by a large mouth full of sharp teeth. We had split up into multiple platoons led by separate leaders. 0400 hours, commencing Sagamihara neutralization operation, said the 3rd Division operator. "Relaying operation now." Kafka, Kikoru, and I ended up in the same group. Reno ended up posted with a group that included Haru. Not fully sure who and where everyone else ended up. Since emerging in the Kanawa Fault, Hashina began relaying the information to us. Our target has been on the move while maturing underground. Upon entering its breeding phase, it broke out onto the surface. Captain Ishiro is leading a unit to dispose of the Hanju. That leaves the rest of us to clean up the countless Yoju it has managed to spawn. These are all the neutralization zones in the area. A holographic map popped up and showing us the zones. The Kaiju neutralization points designated here are devoid of any important facilities or main traffic routes. Your job? To dispose of the Yoju within the confines of these zones. This is a crucial task. Our success or failure here will determine the scale of damage and ultimately dictate the amount of time and money spent rebuilding. Of course, the newbie platoons are being stationed at the tail end, but what that essentially means is you all are our last line of defense. Any questions? He waited a moment with no response. All right, your good marks on the training grounds won't mean squat when it comes time to save lives. So, my fledgling officers, get out on the battlefield and show your stuff. He paused again, and we all cheered out loud. And on that note, good luck. This is it, isn't it, sirs? Reno asked, and I could tell me and Kafka got the message. Yeah, Kafka said. If you fail to prove yourself here, I said, I'm finished. Kafka said, Kafka, I have the utmost faith that this will not be the end of your dream. I said over the comm, which included the 4 of us. Just trust in the training we have gone through, and you should make it through tonight just fine. You want to add anything, Kikoru? There was a long pause. Hibino, you could do this, was all she said. Tension, panic, I'm under all sorts of pressure. Kafka began over the comm. So why am I so freaking amped up right now? Reno POV. That makes sense. I thought, this is the job you've always wanted after all. Let's make sure our first mission is a success. I said, Izuku POV. Yoju spotted entering Zone E. A voice called over the comms. All officers in position engage and neutralize. They're here. I said, let's hit it, Izuku Kikuru. Kafka said, putting his mask on. Who said you could order me around? Kikoru shouted, rushing off. Don't die out there, Ichikawa. Kafka said, same to you guys over there. He responded, here it comes Hibino Midoriya. Kikoru said from her position. Ha, as we used to say back home, I began this time addressing everyone over the comms. Let's all go beyond, plus ultra. Hashina POV. All right, cadets. Your debut mission's underway. I announced over the comms. Now get out there and blow the socks off our senior officers. Kafka POV. Zone E Echo. It started. I thought to myself, but it's odd. I feel eerily calm, not like back during the exams. I can tell this suit will give me what I need. Combat power unleashed. I powered up to my full 4%, only for the universe to painfully remind me just how weak that still made me compared to the others. One of the Yoju promptly charged and took me out when I went in ready to fight. Gah! I yelled till I landed in a pile of sandbags. You're too far out front. Kikora shouted. Keep you and your 4% farther back. For crying out loud, one of the senior officers said, why the hell do we have two babysit the rookies? At least stand someplace out of the way in obs. Bang, 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 bang. Izuku took out all the Yoju in our immediate area with 4 clean shots. He then rushed back to help me out of my predicament in the sandbags. Ignore them, maybe you should stay back and find your own way to contribute. He told me as I held my head. Listen up. An announcement came over the comms. We still don't know where the enemy's weak spot is. Until we get intel from the front line, we need to tread carefully. Third POV. Prap, roger that, Kikoru said, dropping in front of the senior officers. I'll carefully hit every point that even remotely resembles a weak spot, sir. Ugh, the officer from before said as a Yoju fell in front of them. What the hell? No way those shots came from someone in their second month on the force. So this is what Kikoru, Shinomiya, is made of. Kikoru, Izuku called over the comms. Nice job. He gave her a thumbs up. She said, looking away from him. Of course. This is me after all. Beep vitals abnormal. Heart rate rapidly increasing. Her suit said, I could have done without the status update. She shouted, Kikoru, you're with me. We should head out front as some of the strongest here. Izuku said as he too leaped down the building. You got it, she said, and like that they both ran off to the front of the group. Zone F Foxtrot. Prap. All right, we've taken out 2 of its legs. A senior officer said. Now finish it off by Bam Bam, Furuhashi. Good going. All right, Furuhashi said. You see that, Reno? SHOMY? Wait, did you just take that down by yourself? Huff. Reno breathed shakily. Yes. SHWF, his uni-charge descended. I took a page from Izuku and tried swapping out my burst round for freeze rounds. They seem to better suit my style. They allow me to fight while slowing the enemy's movements. Once I get the hang of them, I think I'll be even better at hunting Kaiju. A shiver went down Furuhashi's back. This isn't good enough, Reno thought. I need to become stronger. I promise you, sir. I'll become so strong you won't have to transform. Zone J, Juliet. Hey, a senior officer said. What's the deal with this year's rookies? Platoon leader Nakanashima. Who are these guys? We're losing self-confidence over here. I was told this year was our lucky year for recruits, but I never guessed this lucky. Nakanashima said. I've taken down 3 already. Atoi said. You need to pick up the pace, Haruchi. Yeah. Haruchi replied. Don't forget I assisted on 2 of those kills, bud. One is wild and rugged, Nakanashima said. The other clean-cut and cool. My, we're lucky indeed. You meant their looks, the senior officer said. Plus, she continued, all that adorable bickering makes me want to formally add them to my platoon. Vice Captain Hashina said there are several prominent candidates, but that's not all. The top rookie has near unheard of unleashed combat power that is pushing the others' levels overall and motivating them. Kafka POV. Zone E Echo. Kaiju kill reports are flooding in. I said, looking at a hollow screen. Man, everyone's amazing. Ichikawa and Iharu too. This isn't good. Everyone's working hard, and all I've done is weigh the others down. There's got to be something I can do, right? Come to think of it, didn't he say we still don't know the enemy's weak spot? I looked at the bodies of the Yoju and slapped my face getting ready. I've got weapons of my own. It's time I use them. I dove into the bodies, breaking them down, searching. X, what is he doing? One of the officers said, "Ooh, nice. Even at 4%, this suit makes dismantling this thing a breeze." I thought, if they could mass-produce these, maybe they could sell them to the cleanup industry too. I pulled apart more of the kaiju. Okay, typical fungal-type kaiju structure. But the core isn't in the standard spot. Where is it? If it's not here, then maybe here. Huh, I said, noticing something. Wait, this is Vice Captain Hashina. I've located the core. I keeled over the comms. What? He asked. It's at the base of the neck, sir. I reported. However, it's under the hard fiber muscles acting as their spine. The weaker officers might need to flank them. Oh ho, he said. There's just one more thing, and it's major. I said, the Yoju also have reproductive organs. It's a white bumpy organ located near their rear end. Yulis destroyed. There's a possibility that new Yoju might spawn from their corpses. Kafka, he said happily. I gotta hand it to you. Okanaji? Share that information with all personnel. Yes, sir. Okanaji said. I know you picked up a lot from your last job, too. Hashina told me. But I'd say all that study on you did really paid off. Well done. I clenched my hand tightly. I did it, I thought. I helped out the defense force. I'll continue to gut and neutralize all of the corpses on the road, sir. I told him. I'll do whatever I can, until I can make it there by Mina's side. Kaboom, what was that? Looks like their fetting started. Hashina responded. Take a good look, Kafka. See that over there? Fire. Someone gave Mina the all-clear, and she blasted the Hanju. That's what the person you're aiming to stand beside is capable of. Hashina shouted. Mina, Ashuro POV. Hanju has been wrangled into designated position. Okanaji said, commence concentrated fire on limbs. Third round loaded. I said over the comm. Roger. Okanaji said, commencing calculations. Prepare to fire. We'll just see which of us becomes the cooler officer. I remember Kafka saying, well, Kafka, I said to myself, here's what I'm like now. Unleashed combat power, 96%, my suit said, powering up. I fire my cannon with the maximum amount of force I could muster. The projectile sliced through the air like lighting itself, cleanly blasting through the side of the Hanju. It began to crumple to the ground. Hanju's vitals are fading. Okanaji said, it's collapsing. Fourth round loaded. I said, Roger, prepare to fire. She said, Zadum, Hanju annihilated. Vitals are completely. Fifth round loaded. I said, cutting her off. But, ma'am, she said, the kaiju has already been pacified. Give me the order. I shouted at her. Yes, ma'am, she said. Kafka POV. Shumboom. This is nothing like what I've seen on TV or through binoculars. I thought, an uneasy grin on my face as I shook slightly. She really is out of this world. Well, Hashina asked, walking up to me. Feel like giving up now? I gave a small growl in response. Standing by her side means being her equal in strength. So, I said, you're telling me you're capable of doing that. Vice Captain Hashina? I pointed at the Hanju's body. Nope, he said, laughing and rubbing his head. What are ya? Me nope. I shouted. Well, he began. My unleashed combat power for sharpshooter weaponry is pretty low, so I can't hold a candle to Captain Ishiro when it comes to giant-class threats. But he put his hands on his swords. When it comes to miniature and mid-sized threats, he slashed the Yoju behind him in half with blinding speed. I'd say the odds are in my favor. His blades. I said, amazed. That was so fast, I didn't even see them move. I come from S long line of kaiju slayers dating back to the Muromachi period. He said, so why see I'm better with a blade? Captains and vice captains have the most combat power, so we're equipped with special gear tailored to suit our individual talents. Beep beep Hashina, Mina said over the comms. I'm done here with the Hanju. All right, chat's over. Hashina said. The main event's about to start. Huh? I said, but Mina just said she beat the Hanju, so didn't I tell you earlier? He asked. Our real problem is the countless number of Yoju being spawned. Sure, she took down the Hanju, but all those Yoju left in its corpse. Third POV. Just as I thought, Mina said, watching the Hanju corpse right as the Yoju break free. Here we go. Are going to come pouring out in droves. Hashina said, all righty, folks, we're in the home stretch. Take care of the riffraff, and we can all go home to a hearty breakfast. Take care of the riffraff? Haruchi said as a horde of Yoju began to swarm his location. That's easier said than done. Gahaha. A senior effuser in that location laughed. Tired already, newbies? Guess you still need to build up your stamina. Everyone, let's show the newbies that unleashed combat power ain't the only thing to a fight. Hey, you two, Nakanashima said, draping herself around Aoi and Haruchi. Platoon leader Nakanashima. Haruchi said in shock. How about you sit back and leave the rest to your senior officers? She said, smiling. What do you say? Aoi and Haruchi both looked at each other. That's clearly not an option. They both shout. Besides, Atsu said, you lot clearly have never trained like we have. Izuku's training has built our stamina up in spades. Achoo. Izuku said, sneezing into his mask. Someone must be talking about me. I suspect the rookies must be getting tired. Okanaji said over the comms. Most of their vitals are showing signs of fatigue. Well, there is only so much their training could prepare them for. Hashina said, this is their first real neutralization mission after all. But if they can get through this, I have no doubt it'll elevate them to the next level. Most officers will close out their careers with their unleashed combat power, topping out at 20 or 30%. A handful of them will scale that wall and reach captain rank. The only two among this years to do that thus far are Kakura Shinomiya and Izuka Midoriya, but I think there might actually be one more who's capable of it. Rino Ichikawa is showing all the signs. Iharu's POV. Huff huff, Rino breathed in heavily, leaning against a wall with Iharu. Damn it, I trained hard in college for 5 whole years, I thought. So why can't I keep up with this guy? Yoju entering Zone F, Okanaji said over the comms. They're here, Rino said. Let's get back to the front line, and, oh man, a new voice said nearby. It came from a man in a monster sweeper uniform crouched over a Yoju's corpse. This one too. The reproductive organs, I loaded it with, got destroyed. How'd they find out about it? Maybe there's some kaiju savvy person on the force. Rino's POV. What the? Rino said. He turned around to look at us. Would you happen to know? He asked us. Wait, I thought. What's a cleanup worker doing here of all places? Rino's POV. Wait, what's a cleanup worker doing here of all places? I thought. Oh man. The cleanup worker said, ripping through the kaiju corpse with ease. This sucks. I plan on outwitting them with a Yoju variant that could split off from itself. Should I revive them again? Now I can only bring back so many. Besides, it really wears me out. What's he talking about? Something's off about this guy. I thought. Hey, buddy. Iharu directed to the cleanup guy. The guy promptly stood up and looked at him with the blandest of faces. This place ain't safe, so just stand by till you're instructed. The guy raised a hand, finger pointing out. His bland face suddenly turned menacing. Huh. Suddenly the finger bulged, and I put 2 and 2 together. Look out, Iharu. I shouted. Aw, man, I missed the heart. The kaiju man said. My accuracy really takes a hit on this form. Vital fluid dripped from the wound heavily. Iharu shouted in pain, vital fluid gushing from his shoulder. Iharu, I shouted, rushing over. It won't stop bleeding. He shouted. Damn it. Just calm down and use your suit's function to bind the wound. I shouted. The hell is this? Iharu asked. The hell is he? A kaiju. Though. If there are other humanoid kaiju aside from Kafka. The kaiju began to change in a hideous fashion, his body almost bubbling as his flesh gave way to his true being. It's the humanoid type from back at the testing grounds. I shouted as I was mystified and Iharu was mouth agape. Wait, for real? Iharu shouted in surprise, his wound at least plugged by his suit. This is the thing that took out Shinomiya. Most likely. I confirmed, trying to think of something. Ah, man, Kaiju number 9 said. I'd hate to leave empty-handed. I should at least take an officer back with me as a living sample, don't you think? A shiver ran down my spine at those words. Hastily, I moved to try and warn my platoon. Platoon leader Ikaruga. I shouted. We've encountered a humanoid kaiju. Requesting backup immediate, I was cut off by my headset buzzing and beeping as it deactivated. Right. Radio communication, yes? Number 9 said. Already got that covered. This section is already within an undetectable pocket of space. For a trick designed to keep me hidden in the human world, it works surprisingly well for hunting them. Don't you think? His finger began to bubble once more as he prepared to fire. It's coming. I thought as I moved as quick as I could, but was still hid in my side. Reno, Iharu shouted. Dumph! Another shot for number 9. I tried dodging again. This time it took a good chunk from my right thigh. I was in a lot of pain as vital fluid spurted from my leg. Huh? Number 9 said, puzzled. Odd. Mine seems slightly off. This pain is unreal. I thought, breathing out in a huff. He's breaking through the suit's shield like it's nothing. But, I'll wait. Hey you, number 9 called out. You can see my shots, can't you? Flashback. Oh right. Shinomiya said as we were all sat down and had explained everything to her. I'll fill you in just in case you guys run into that thing in the wild. At first, I thought it was using some sort of magic or witchcraft. She took a break to sip some tea. But if you look closely at its fingertip, you'll see it has a certain tell before attacking. In flashback, I watched Jaz's fingertip bulge, then contract. Gotta look closer, I thought. If I can get a grasp on the timing of his shots. I pulled away, and the incoming shots sailed by me. I can dodge them. I locked in my focus. He dodged the thing. Iharu shouted from the side, just like I figured. Number 9 said I took this distraction to fire at him with my rifle. Imperceptibly fast 9 moved his left arm up and blocked the shot with their wrist. Iharu, I shouted. Fall back and send reinforcements. Say what? He responded. Why do I have to be the one getting saved by you, Doom? A shot fired, and I rushed over and tackled Iharu out of the way. I wasn't fast enough, and the shot grazed his right shoulder. Arg. God, it freaking hurts. I stood up, Iharu. I said, you have to go, please. It doesn't get any scarier than this, I thought. This thing took down Shinomiya of all people. I don't stand a chance against this thing. Iharu dashed off, but the kind of officer I strive to be. Flashback. Run for it, Ichikawa. I remembered Kafka shouting back then. Get out of here as fast as you can. Once you're out of harm's way, send out an alert. In flashback, is one who can lay his life on the line to protect one of his own at a time like this. I reaffixed my mask. I don't stand a chance against it, but I can at least buy Iharu some time to escape. Yeah, I shouted, charging forward, firing my rifle rapidly. Number 9 returned my volley with one of his own. I locked in and dodged the shots the best I could as I began to press forward, firing all the while. Iharu's POV. He's clearly not the same Reno I knew before. I thought, what the hell? I shouted. How can he hold his own against that thing? Bam, a stray shot from number 9 impacted in front of me. Ugh. Damn it. Damn it to hell. I can't stand. This really pisses me off. Flashback. There's a wall you'll hit with unleashed combat power. Vice Captain Hashina said. Roughly around 20 to 30%. It's a wall that only a few can scale. In flashback, I clenched my fist. It's been nearly 2 weeks since then, and I still haven't broken 20%. And my mind drifted back to that day. Ever since that day, I've dedicated my life to getting stronger. And despite that, all that training with Reno and everyone. Despot, that hellish regiment that Izuku has put us all through. That friggin' guy surpassed me like it's nothing. This really pisses me off. Suddenly the battle behind me died down. Hey you, number 9 said to Reno. You've been acting like you know all about me, but GRK. I heard Reno say, and I turned back to see number 9's body bubbling and morphing grotesquely once again. Suddenly, I saw it. Number 9 had 4 arms, and all his fingers were bubbling and pointed right at Reno. I bet you didn't know about this, did you? It said menacingly. Reno looked scared, and I saw the fingers convulse. I shot forward, tackling Ichikawa out of the way. As that finisher was closing in on him, we barely managed to avoid it. I laid there next to him and shivered. Oh, Number 9 said. Vital fluid was gushing from my wounds. Evidently, my speed had overcome the suit's binding function. Iharu, Ichikawa asked. What? No, Reno's not the one I'm pissed at. I thought. I'm pissed at the guy who's gotten no better since then. Pissed at the guy who's always getting saved. I began to stand looking up at Ichikawa. Listen up, Reno. I said, you ain't the one savon me. I'm the one savon you dim base. I dropped to the ground with a thud. Iharu, Reno shouted. What? Why did you come back when? Can it? I said. I sent up a flash round. You know that's not the issue here. He told me. That was your idea, huh? Number 9 said. Not going to work. Nothing living or otherwise can get out without my permission. No way, I thought, and I could tell Reno thought the same. I began standing again. In that case, I said, we just got to man up. The two of us are talking this thing down, Reno. That being said, I'm worse for wear. I'll back you up and make an opening. Then you blast it with a shot full force. Affirmative, he told me. Let's go, Reno. I shouted, and he shot forward. I grabbed my handgun and began laying down some cover fire. Number 9 dodged them with my shock round, producing electricity around them and slowing them anyway. A conductor round? Reno shouted. Don't think you're the only one testing out different rounds. I called after him. This makes it hard to move. Number 9 said, guess I'll stop the one over there first. He charged up a shot firing at me. Gotta watch closely. I thought I've taken enough shots already to have a grasp on the timing. I successfully dodged this one. Him too, huh? Number 9 said, and I hit him with several conductor round his right leg. Now, Reno, I shouted. Reno's POV. Unleash maximum combat power. My suit shouted. Please, God, just for right now. I prayed. Just for this 1 second, I'm begging you. I need to be stronger than Shinomiya, than Captain Ishiro, than even Izuku. Just for this 1 second, so please give me the strength. I squeezed my rifle's trigger and unleashed a massive volley of fire on Number 9, yeah. I shouted. When that volley ended, I was left to gasp at the sight in front of me. A wall of corpses. Number 9 said, as the corpses ripped apart to allow him to pass. Judging from that look on your face, I take it you've run out of ideas, huh? Reno, Ihara shouted as I was assaulted by an onslaught for Number 9. I fell to the ground with a thud, deeply injured. My body feels like it's on fire. I thought, I need to bind my wounds and stand back up. I'm still alive. The fight isn't over. I try to get back on my feet to fight. You're still moving? Number 9 asked. It's surprisingly difficult. Killing a human's motor functions without actually killing them, that is. He raised his hand to attack again. I don't think so, idiot. Iharu fired off round from his handgun. Number 9 proceeded to flick them all away with his finger. What the? I've already seen that trick. Number 9 said, turning his finger back on Iharu, knocking him back down. Now then, I should wrap this one up. He said, turning back to me and firing again. I struggled, but began getting back up. Not a strong enough shot. Still moving, huh? How about this then? Another shot hit me. I can barely make out Iharu struggling to get his rifle finally. He grabbed it, turning around to attack Number 9. You're out of your mind if you think. I'm letting it end here. He pulled the trigger, but Kachik, the gun was destroyed earlier. I've almost got this one down to size. Number 9 said, I don't need you anymore. He prepared to finish off Iharu. Iharu broke down crying. I don't care who, be it God, a demon, or the devil himself. Please save Reno. Iharu said, please, save my friend. You can die now. Number 9 said, charging his attack up. The only one dying here. I heard Kafka's voice menacingly say, is you dirtbag? Izuku finished saying. Izuku's POV. About 15 minutes before Reno and Iharu encounter Number 9. The swarm of Yoju just made it to Kikuru, Kafka, in my zone. I was beginning to get amped. Kikuru said over the comms. You get any of the stragglers that get past me. Kafka, keep checking and taking care of their cores and reproductive organs. It's time I let loose a bit. Izuku, are you sure that's a good idea? Kafka asked. Last time you let loose, you blew apart your combat suit. Kikoru finished his thought. What the heck are you three on about? Hashina asked from the rear with Kafka. I smiled under my respirator. Only that you lot haven't truly seen what I can do. I said, Captain Ishiro, and you know that I purposefully fight with a lowered combat power time to show you why. I reach into my pouch and pull out a modified version of my old support gloves, sliding them on and hooking them around my suit's wrist guards. What are those? Hashina said, popping up next to me as I fixed them. You're not supposed to have access to custom gear yet. Oh, these are something of my own design. I explained as I checked that they were functioning fully. Slightly modified since I joined to allow me to put them on over the suit, but still the same. Not sure what you possibly could have made as a civilian, he commented. But I'll let you use them if they don't break up like your last suit. Thank you, sir. I'll show you what I can really do. I said, stretching out. Been a little while since I could fight like this. And I stood back up, letting my repression release. Unleash combat power 50%, my suit said. I crouched down, getting ready to jump. One for all 10% green lightning began to spark around me. I leapt up to the side of a building and began to leap between them, making my way to the swarm of Kaiju barreling our direction. I shot forward just above the swarm and prepared a special attack. Quintuple Delaware Smash. I flicked 4 of my fingers, 2 on each hand, launching 4 small, precise bursts of pressurized wind into the crowd of Kaiju. The shots easily pierced and ripped through their fungus-like bodies like it was nothing. I ran down the center of the crowd, pulling out 2 handguns I had set up with freeze rounds, firing and freezing as many of them in place as I could. Kikoru, come in and lend a hand. Kafka, if you think you can do what we've been practicing, feel free to join in as well. I called over the comms. On my way already, Izuku, Kikoru said, and I could vaguely see her rushing forward. Actually, Izuku, there might be a problem. Kafka said over the Privat comm channel I had set up. The base has lost communication with Ichikawa and Furuhashi. You don't think it's here, do you? I asked. The thing that Kikoru warned us about? He said, I'm not certain, but I do feel another presence around the strength of a Hanju. Also, some of the bodies back here are reacting to something. Kikoru is sorry about this, but I'm going to have to bail and go back up Kafka for this. I told her. It would be troublesome if the others witnessed, you know what, right now. I understand, she said. Just be careful. That Kaiju I saw back then definitely ain't like any you two have fought before. Also give that thing hell for me. I think we can do that, right, Kafka? I asked. With pleasure, he said. Let's get over there, Izuku. I saw him leap up and land on a building. So far, it looks like what we had been practicing was working fine for him. I followed up to the same building, and we began leaping from building to get to whatever Kafka was sensing. Eventually, whatever Kaiju detecting sense Kafka had brought us to this strange barrier-like thing. It wouldn't let us past, and I was willing to bet that it was also the reason base had lost communication with Reno and Iharu. Do you think you can shatter it? Kafka asked me. Maybe if I went all out, but I doubt the combat suit can withstand that. I responded. Then stand back, he said, and I did as I was told. He rounded up his arm to deliver a punch at the last second. I saw his arm change into Kaiju number 8's as he delivered the Strix, shattering the barrier. I don't even think that thing will notice it's missing. Probably too full of itself. Yeah, the way Kikoru described its personality reminds me of someone from home, almost. I said, anyway, let's get back on the trail. We set of again hopping over the rooftops, and then we saw the devastation wrought by number 9 on our friends. It looked like it was preparing to finish off Iharu. We both leaped down silently and approached from behind. You could die now, number 9 said, charging his attack up. The only one dying here. I heard Kafka's voice menacingly say, Is you dirtbag? Izuku finished saying, Awa. Number 9 said, and Kafka decked him in the face, knocking head off and sending the body flying back a ways. What just happened? I could see my own body. Guess my head got knocked off, huh? Good to see that what I was teaching you seems to be working. I said, I'm going to pick them up. Might be smart to use this chance to secure Officer Ship Kafka. That's only going to work if I can keep a lid on this form, you know that. He whispered to me as I picked up Reno. True, but if you feel yourself slipping, I'll step in, but I better secure these guys as soon as possible since I'm the only one here with trauma training. I said, holler if you need me to tag and I'll still give you credit when we get back. I'm still so weak, Reno said on my shoulder. Hey now, Reno, you were the fastest improving officer this year. Don't be down on yourself just because you got beat by this thing. I said as I lifted Haru up as well, moving out of the fighting zone. From what me and Kikuru could figure, it's likely identified class at least. You're right, he said. I did give my all in this fight at least. We both did. It looks like Haru passed out though, I said as I laid them down gently. He just seemed to have some pretty severe damage. I began to reinforce the binds that their suit's functions were putting to help with the vital fluid loss. The battle raged behind me, but I stuck to my current task till I was satisfied with my work and then went to stand guard over them. I pulled one of the drones out from my pouch and used it to record the fight for proof to give to the vice captain. Okay, number 9 said, I think I found someone new to study. He launched 2 of his finger shot attacks at Kafka, who failed to react, taking them to the chest with minimal damage, but damage nonetheless. I see you're a tough one. In order to kill you, I'll need to go bigger. It body pulsed and bulged as arms began sprouting from his back, all of them gearing up to fire at Kafka. I stepped forward and stood next to Kafka. Damn it, I said. There's no way you can remain hidden if he fires that at you. Sorry, but I'm taking over stand guard of Haru and Reno Kafka. But this is my chance. He said. That's an order, I affirmed. It will look too suspicious if you're suddenly in par with Kikuru and I. I suppose you're right. He said sheepishly. Okay, then just try not to hurt yourself. Don't worry about me. I drew my fist back, preparing to counter the shot from number 9. One for all, lightning surrounded my combat suit. 20% augmentation on 50%, number 9 fired a shot, and I uppercut just in front of me, memories of that first battle training I had against Bakugu as the attack for number 9 was launched skyward easily, alerting any officers in the area. Listen to me, Kaiju. That attack will draw any eligible officers this direction. If you value whatever existence you've carved out for yourself, you'll flee right now. And why should I believe you? Number 9 asked. I have set up a barrier. Nothing gets in or out without my permission. That thing, please, I said. We destroyed that on our way here. Its eyes bulged out of its head. Fine, but I know your profiles now. He said as he began to dissolve somehow. Next time we meet you and number 8 back, there won't be the winning side. That's not disturbing at all, Kafka said. Don't put too much thought behind it. I said, I'll make sure we can fight that guy by ramping up training. You take Reno, I'll carry Haru, since he seems to be worse off. Where are we bringing them? He asked, picking up Reno, who slung an arm around Kafka's neck. Isn't it obvious, sir? Reno asked. He's still trying to secure your spot as an officer. I nodded my approval. We walked back to the main base and got them to stretchers as soon as possible. Last I saw, they were hooked up to spare vital fluid and being rushed for treatment. So what exactly made you abandon your post as Zuka Kafka? Vice Captain Hashina asked, walking up to us. Kikuru was able to cover, but this was a risky decision altogether. Sir Kafka requested my aide to go out and find Haru and Reno. I explained, gesturing to Kafka. HM, and how exactly did you know where to find them? He asked Kafka. Kafka fidgeted for a second, thinking on his response. Sir Kikuru, Reno, Izuku, and I had set up special comms to keep in contact between just us. He said, we wanted to be prepared in case something happened like the training incident. It just so happens that Reno managed to get through just before his comms went dead. Other than that, I went on a hunch since I knew he had switched to freeze rounds. Is this the truth, Izuku? Hashina asked me. The whole truth, sir. I affirmed. Well, you too are full of surprises. Well done, both of you, he said. As for you, Kafka, well done. He walked off. Well, that could have been better news. I said, I don't care to think about my issues right now. Kafka set his legs, shaking slightly. I'm more concerned about Reno ANF and Haru. Yep, that's fair. I said, Izuku's POV. I was sitting in the hospital with Kafka, Reno, and Haru. Those 3 were talking, waiting for an estimation on how long Reno and Haru would be here for. I was working on some schematics I planned to run by the vice captain and captain. We wanted to find a solution to my combat suit troubles. Not sure how well my idea can be executed, though. Maybe I should run this idea by Izumo, I commented to myself. Of course, I don't know if he knows much about his family's work. I began to mumble to myself, going on various tangents, when Kafka Karate chopped me on the head. "Hey, you were doing that mumbling thing again," he said. "Something about you not know if this was possible." He pointed to the tablet I was designating on. "You're right," I said. "Thanks for bringing me out of it." I stowed the tablet in my bag. "Any news from the doctor?" "Yeah, they were just here," Iharu said. "We should be clear to leave. They just need to finish the paperwork." Reno said, "That's good to hear. Means we can welcome you two back into training," I said, smiling as they both gave grim expressions. "In any case, we should probably gather up your guys' belongings so you're all ready to go." I stood up and began grabbing what was needed for them to change once they were clear to go. Time skip. We all walked into the barracks together and were met with surprise from everybody as we walked in. It was time for all of us to celebrate our first official operation being a success. "Welcome to our first mission wrap-up party," Kafka told our injured friends as he led them into the party. "Actually, I need to speak with Izuku and Kikoru real fast," Vice Captain Hashina said, appearing from seemingly nowhere. "Sure thing, Vice Captain," I said. "This better not take too long," Kikoru said as we both followed him out of the party into an office. Vice Captain Hashina sat down at the desk and prompted us to sit down as well. "Okay. So to put things simply, you two impressed us greatly during your first mission and the powers that be have decided to give you personalized weapons," he explained. "Really?" Kikoru said, excited. "What exactly does that mean?" I asked. "Well, you have heard of a numbers weapon, yes?" Kikoru asked me, and I nodded. "They are similar to that, but usually not made from an identified class Kaiju, but still very powerful Hanju." "Essentially," Hashina said. "So they wanted me to get your guys' input on what would be best for you. I would like a heavy weapon I can use to split a Kaiju apart," Kikoru said. "That shouldn't be too difficult to arrange, I suppose." Hashina said we might even have some prototypes already made that could fit you. "Now what about you, Izuku?" "Well, what I need most is a suit I can go all out in," I commented. "Right, you don't really have much issue fighting otherwise." Hashina thought for a sec. "We could test compatibility with a numbers weapon, although odds are low." "Would it be possible to make an artificial numbers weapon?" I asked. "What do you mean?" he asked. "Well, a numbers weapon requires an identified class Kaiju to make, and odds of even more coming along, yet alone, the perfect one for me are slim," I explained. "But what if we could produce an artificial numbers weapon from combining multiple strong parts from higher-grade Hanju?" "An interesting proposal," he said, "though I might need to run the idea by some of our scientists, though I would still like to test potential compatibility with existing numbers weapons." "That should be fine," I said. "Good, report to the lab tomorrow. Instead of training, we will leave that to Kikoru here, and we will test your compatibility. But for now, two of you go back and enjoy the party. The best part should begin soon." With that, me and Kikoru returned to the party to be met with everybody arguing over what each other did wrong during the mission. Kikoru and I looked at each other and shared a laugh as we went to sit down and eat before this devolved further into a brawl. Kafka's POV. I was standing in front of Mina in her office. Today was the day that everything would be made official. After this meeting, I will finally be an officer of the 3rd Division. "Kafka Hibino," Mina stated as she stared at me with a blank expression. "As of this moment, you are formally promoted from cadet to Defense Force officer." We saluted each other. "I solemnly swear to fight with all my heart and soul," I proclaimed, and we broke salute. "Well then, I'll be on my way," I stated awkwardly. I was barely at the door when, "Don't go jumping for joy." Mina set her back now to me. "You're nowhere close to fighting by my side." "So, she does remember," I thought. "Oh yeah?" I said. "Just you watch, Mina." She chuckled before turning away from me. 50 push-ups for failing to address a superior officer by their title. She said back to me once more. "Then you may leave." I shouted. "Oh no, I did it again." I had just finished the push-ups when she spoke again. "Kaiju number 8, a shiver went up my spine. "And Kaiju number 9's incidents require me to take a trip to headquarters. I'll be stepping away from the base." Fushi had me spooked there for a moment. I thought to myself, "I'm leaving Hashina in charge," she said. "Ask him for the full rundown." "Yes, ma'am." I addressed her. "Also," she said as I was about to leave, Just so, Hashina was the one who pushed for you to be a general officer. Of course, your exploits in the last battle also played a part in that decision. The vice captain, I thought. He has faith in you. She said, don't let him down. Yes, ma'am. I shouted. Time skip. I stretched and yawned in my seat and stretched out. Oh, man. I said, I guess I should call it a day. Or else vice captain will give me another warning. I walked into the hall, locking the door, then seeing another door was open the light on. Wait, isn't that the training room? I walked over and looked in the door. Okay, who forgot to turn off the lights? I looked in and shuddered as I saw the vice captain practicing with his blade. I watched as he moved around the room, recognizing the movements from one of the videos I've seen in the archive. He's reenacting one of his fights with a medium-size kaiju. A shudder ran down my spine as I realized that these moves are what he'd use on me if he found out the truth. Eventually, I stumbled and fell on my butt. That must have pulled him out of it. He looked over at me. Oh, it's you, Kafka, he said. Burning the midnight oil again, I see. I could say the same of you, sir, I said with a slight chuckle. What's got you so fired up to be practicing? If you don't mind me asking. Well, as of the MHA incident, we now have 2 identified class kaiju on the loose, he said, both of whom are in the rage I thrive against. So I'm practicing in case I need to step up and fight them to protect this division. Oh, you really care about us, so much us, sir? I said, trying to act natural. I protect my men, nothing more, nothing less, he said solemnly. Besides, only 2 of you guys might be able to actually be helpful if one of them were to attack at this moment. And one of them is heading out with the captain in the morning. Oh, is Izuku's meeting with the higher-up finally here? I asked. Yep, we'll finally get answers on him. He muttered that last bit. Omina also mentioned that you have faith in me, sir. I said, I appreciate the encouragement. Let me clear this up, he said, giving me a terrifying glare. I have faith in 4% of you. You still have a long way to go, Kafka Hibino. No, let turn in for the night, he said, grabbing his jacket and walking to the door. Right, sir, I said, closing the door behind us. Izuku's POV. I awoke early that morning and got dressed in a uniform for my journey to headquarters with Captain Ishiro. Just as I was finishing with my laces on my boots, there was a subtle knock at the dorm room's door. I looked over and saw Captain Ishiro at the doorframe, looking somewhat stern as she waited for me to finish. Once we were out of earshot of the dorms, so how far away is headquarters, Captain? I asked. She side-eyed me before answering. It is located at the Ariake Maritime Base. It is split between us and the Navy, she explained. And you should already know that from school. Oh, I didn't go to school here, I explained. Really, you like a native Japanese person? She inquired. I'll explain it during my meeting with the upper brass, I said. I presume you'd be included in on the meeting given that you lead our division, and I'd rather not have to repeat myself too much if you don't mind, Captain Ishiro. That is fair, I suppose, she said as we had approached a truck. Hop in. We have a long drive ahead of us. I did as she directed, and so we were on our way. We had to travel for a few hours, but we'd be there by the afternoon at the latest. Izuku's POV. The entire ride, Mina made sure I should be as respectful as possible during the meeting. Make sure to bow and address them with honorifics, she said. If you all think I'm strict about it, you haven't seen nothing. Of course, ma'am, I responded, a little on nerves given what it is I'm going to be informing them about. I'm definable going to sound crazy for a bit. I will do my best to explain myself. For all that it was worth, she did her best to calm me down. Which brings us to now. Now, I was outside the meeting room where all the head officers were meeting, waiting to be called in to explain myself. Suddenly, the door opened, and a girl I didn't recognize walked out. She was wearing the standard uniform when not ready for combat, and had her hair pulled up in a high ponytail. She kind of reminded me of Yayorozu. Izuka Midoriya, she said. They're all ready for you. I stood up brisk and straight, right? I said, and followed her into the room. Once inside, and in front of everyone, I saluted them and waited to be addressed. Well, Midoriya, General Shinomiya stated bluntly, I am told you wish to inform us all about your lacking past. He had a file on me in front of him. I clutched onto a file of my own. Yes, sir, and I must ask that you all please don't share any of this outside your vice captains for now. I asked and watched as they all looked at each other before nodding. I'm not originally from this Japan. What exactly do you mean by that? A tired-looking guy with pale pink hair asked me, with an eyebrow raised. I mean that originally I come from a different universe. I said bluntly. Right, and I was blind before they transplanted my numbers weapon into my retinas. The same guy said, look at my file. I prompted them. You will see that I seemingly just appeared in this country roughly 2 years ago now. That would be because I did just appeared here 2 years ago. Okay, and where exactly did you come from then, HM? A man with black hair and an eyebrow raised patch asked. I came from a world full of superheroes and powers. I said, right, and you can prove this how exactly? Captain Ishido asked me. Well, what's the heaviest thing you got here? I asked. With that, they lead me to a large room containing a dead kaiju. Go ahead, Midoriya, show us what you've got. Captain Ishido said over the comms. I took off my uniform's coat to prove I don't have one of the combat suits on. I then got into a stance and charged one for all throughout my body green, lightning sparking across my body. I then returned to a normal stance, raised my hand up, and prepared to flick. I smiled before I said a phrase I haven't said in 2 years. Detroit Smash. I flicked, and the wind pressure shot forward and straight through the kaiju's head. I then rushed forward and lifted the headless body up and tossed it at the wall. Holy, he actually has superpowers. I heard a voice scream over the sound system that sounded like that tire guy. I powered down and pulled my shirt back on. I take it you all believe me now? I asked. And just to clarify, this is exactly why I keep destroying my combat suits. My power multiples my own strength, among some other things that I can do, but we can get into that later. The other thing I'd like to bring up is that I really would like a custom suit that can hopefully withstand the power it is going to be doing. Well, Midoriya, General Shinomiya said. As it turns out, a custom suit might not need to be made for you. You happen to be compatible with a few numbers weapons which might be able to handle this power of yours. Specifically mine might be your best shot. What do you mean, sir? I asked, not familiar with any of the numbers weapons. Well, I possess numbers weapon too, General Shinomiya stated. The weapon built out of the Daikaiju of destruction. Due to the kaiju, it was made from being heavily fortified. Numbers weapon 2 possesses immense durability. Perhaps enough to resist these powers of yours when coupled with the increase of the combat suits. Well, that seems to be a fair analysis of the situation, sir, I said in a rather dour mood. I'm skeptical of that. See, my quirk can go much further than what I just demonstrated. That was maybe 10% of its power. I pointed to the blown through kaiju head behind me. 10%. Everyone but General Shinomiya and the sleepy guy from early shouted in surprise. Yeah, I doubt that. The quiet guy said, I mean, if that's the case, why even bother with a combat suit? Just fight with your own strength like they did back in the day. Well, it's no joke. I said, I could probably do it if I could use all of my power, but at the moment I'm capped out at 10%. I sheepishly rubbed the back of my neck. I can't even use my other powers at the moment. Yeah, was a response from everyone but General Shinomiya. Wasn't it obvious based on what he said earlier? He said, or was I the only one listening? He looked to his side, receiving questioning looks from everyone. He said, if I am remembering correctly, my power multiplies my own strength. Among some other things that I can do, but we can get into that later. So it was safe to presume that multiplying his strength wasn't all his power could do. Correct. I can do more than that, though I'm not sure it will be needed at this time. I said, I will fill you all in about it when necessary. You will fill at least me in now, General Shinomiya said, placing a hand on my shoulder. Or I won't allow you to leave this base. Fine, I can do that, but perhaps in private would be best. I said, at least for now. Very well, we can do so in my office. Otherwise, the rest of you are dismissed at this time. He ordered everyone else. So, this was the end of this series. Stay tuned for next part of this series, and if you like this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Until next time.